There is a hole in human history, a gap that should not exist, a tear in the fabric of time itself that we have all agreed to ignore. We trust the calendar on our walls. We trust the date on our phones. We believe that today follows yesterday in a perfect, unbroken line stretching back to the beginning of civilization. But that is a lie. In the year 1582, something happened that broke the continuity of time. Millions of people across Europe went to sleep on the night of October 4th. They closed their eyes expecting to wake up on the morning of October 5th, but they did not. When they opened their eyes, the sun had risen, but the date was wrong. It was October 15th. 10 full days had vanished. 10 sunrises that never happened. 10 sunsets that no one saw. History had jumped forward, leaving a void where those days should have been. The official story is that Pope Gregory XIII was simply fixing a mathematical error. They told the peasants that the calendar was drifting and they needed to realign the date with the seasons for the sake of Easter. It sounds reasonable. It sounds scientific. It sounds safe. But history is rarely safe, and the truth is never reasonable. Why did riots break out in the streets of Frankfurt? Why did people scream that the Pope was stealing their lives? Why did astronomers who questioned the math suddenly disappear into the dungeons of the Inquisition? The Vatican did not just change a calendar. They were hiding something. They were trying to outrun a prophecy that was written in the stars. They deleted 10 days not to fix the year, but to delay the end of the world. And the terrifying part is not that they did it. The terrifying part is that we are still living inside their lie. Now, let us step back from the edge of that realization. Let the noise of the modern world fade away. Let the anxiety of the present moment dissolve into the shadows. Imagine you are standing in a long stone corridor. The air is cool and smells of ancient dust and beeswax candles. The walls are lined with shelves that reach up into the darkness. Each shelf is stacked with scrolls and leather-bound books that have not been opened in centuries. You are deep beneath the surface of Rome. You are in the secret archives where the silence is so heavy it feels like a physical weight on your shoulders. The only sound is the soft rustle of your own breathing and the distant echo of a bell tolling somewhere far above. Here time does not move in a straight line. Here the past is not dead. It is waiting. We are going to open a journal that has been sealed for over 400 years. We are going to look into the mind of the man who decided to break time. We will walk through the cobbled streets of the 16th century where fear hung like smoke in the air. We will listen to the whispers of the cardinals and the screams of the mathematicians. We will find the truth that was buried in the gap between October 4th and October 15th. Breathe slowly. Let your mind drift back. The year is 1582. The night is dark. And the world is about to change. To understand why the days were stolen, we must first understand the world that lost them. Europe in the late 16th century was a place of shadows and superstition. It was a time when the boundary between science and magic was thin and easily crossed. Men studied the stars not just to navigate ships, but to read the mind of God. The Vatican was the center of this world. It was the beating heart of power and influence. Pope Gregory XIII sat on the throne of St. Peter. He was a man of law, a man of structure, a man who believed that order was the highest virtue. But in the quiet hours of the night when the candles burned low, Pope Gregory was a man deeply afraid. He was surrounded by astronomers and mathematicians. Men in heavy robes who spent their nights on the tower tops peering through brass instruments at the indifferent stars. They had brought him news that was disturbing. The Julian calendar, which had been used since the time of Julius Caesar, was failing. It was drifting. The calendar assumed that a year was exactly 365 and 1/4 days long. But the universe is not so neat. The actual solar year is slightly shorter. It is 365 days, 5 hours, 48 minutes, and 46 seconds. That small difference is barely noticeable in a human lifetime. It is a matter of minutes. But over 16 centuries, those minutes had stacked up. They had become hours. The hours had become days. By the time Gregory became Pope, the calendar was out of sync with the sun by 10 days. The spring equinox was arriving too early. Easter, the holiest day in Christendom, was drifting towards the winter. This was the problem on the surface. This was the problem they put in the public bulls and the official decrees. But there was another problem. A problem that was discussed only in hushed tones behind the heavy oak doors of the papal apartments. If the calendar was wrong, then the horoscopes were wrong. If the dates were wrong, then the rituals were being performed at the wrong cosmic moment. The Church publicly condemned astrology, but privately the princes of the Church were obsessed with it. They believed that the movements of the planets dictated the fate of empires. If the calendar was drifting by 10 days, it meant that for centuries humanity had been out of step with the heavens. It meant that kings had been crowned on inauspicious days. It meant that wars had been launched under bad stars. It meant that the protective rituals of the Church might have been powerless because they were performed on the wrong dates. This was the fear that gnawed at Gregory. It was not just about the seasons. It was about spiritual alignment. He felt that the world was slipping into chaos because it had lost its rhythm with the divine clockwork. So he summoned a commission, a group of the most brilliant minds of the age. They met in a villa outside Rome, away from the prying eyes of the city. Among them was Christopher Clavius, a Jesuit, mathematician and astronomer of terrifying intellect. Clavi, U.S. was a man who saw numbers as the language of angels. He believed that if you could correct the math, you could correct the soul of the world. Clavius proposed a radical solution. He told the Pope that they could not simply adjust the length of the future years. That would take too long to correct the drift. He said they had to perform surgery on time itself. They had to cut out the cancer. They had to delete the 10 days that had accumulated like a sickness in the body of history. Imagine the audacity of this idea. Imagine standing before the most powerful man in the world and suggesting that he simply erase time. Clavius laid out the plan. Thursday, October 4th, 1582 would be followed immediately by Friday, October 15th. 10 days would simply cease to exist. October 5th would not happen. October 6th would not happen. October 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th. None of them would exist. Children born on those days would have no birthdays this year. Rents that were due on the 10th would have to be paid on a day that did not exist on the calendar. Wages for 10 days of labor would vanish into thin air. It was a logistical nightmare. But Clavius was adamant. He argued that the pain would be temporary, but the correction would be eternal. He convinced the Pope that they were saving the future by sacrificing the present. The bull was signed. The decree went out. Papal runners carried the sealed parchments to the corners of Catholic Europe. To Spain, to Portugal, to Poland, to Italy. The order was absolute. On the night of October 4th, the world would stop, and when it started again, it would be propelled forward into the future, But what the history books often leave out is the panic. Imagine being a peasant in a small village in Tuscany. You cannot read. You cannot write. Your entire understanding of the world is based on the cycle of the sun and the ringing of the church bells. Suddenly, the priest tells you that tomorrow is not tomorrow. He tells you that God has decided to skip 10 days. For the educated elite, this was mathematics. For the common people, it was theft. They believed that the Pope was literally stealing time from their lives. If you were destined to die on October 10th and October 10th never came, did that mean you would live forever? Or did it mean you were already dead? There were riots in the streets of Frankfurt. Mobs gathered outside the cathedrals in Paris. They screamed, "Give us back our 10 days." They believed that by shortening the year, the church was shortening their lifespans. They thought that 10 days were being shaved off the end of their lives. It was a primal fear, a fear of mortality manipulated by authority. Landlords demanded a full month of rent for a month that was 10 days short. Bankers demanded interest for days that had never passed. Servants asked if they should be paid for the time that vanished. The courts were flooded with cases that had no precedent. How do you prove you were present on a day that the law says never happened? But beneath this chaos there was a deeper current, a current that brings us back to the secret archives and the locked journals. Because the resistance to the calendar change was not just about money or confusion. It was about magic. There were those who believed that the days themselves held power. In the old traditions, each day was governed by a saint or a spirit or a planetary alignment. By deleting 10 days, the church was breaking the chain of protection. They were skipping over feast days. They were ignoring the specific moments when the veil between heaven and earth was supposed to be thinnest. If the feast of a particular saint fell on October 9th and October 9th was erased, did that saint go without honor for that year? Did the prayers that were supposed to protect the village from storm and plague simply fail to reach the heavens? Because the date was wrong, the common people whispered that the Pope had confused the saints. They feared that by tampering with the sequence of time, the Church had accidentally invalidated the liturgy. It was a terrifying thought. If the calendar is a contract between God and man, then the Pope had just rewritten the terms without the other party's signature dot, and then there was the resistance of the nations. Not everyone obeyed the Pope. In the north, the Protestant countries looked at the new calendar with deep suspicion. England refused to adopt it. Germany refused. They saw it not as a correction of science, but as a trick of theology. They believed it was a papal plot to bring them back under the dominion of Rome by controlling the very dates of their lives. This created a fracture in the reality of Europe. For the next several centuries, the continent lived in two different times. If you travel from London to Paris, you physically cross the Channel, but you also jump 10 days into the future. You could leave England on Tuesday the 1st and arrive in France on Saturday the 11th. You could send a letter from a Protestant country to a Catholic country, and it would arrive on a date before it was written. History became a kaleidoscope. Treaties were signed on two different dates. Battles were recorded as happening on different days depending on who wrote the history book. The world was out of sync. It was as if humanity was living in two parallel dimensions that sat uncomfortably side by side. But why? Why go to such lengths? Why risk the damnation of the saints and the rebellion of the people and the confusion of the kings? Just to fix the date of Easter. This is where the story shifts from history to mystery. This is where we must look away from the public decrees and look toward the private shadows of the Vatican Library. Because the urgency of Pope Gregory feels disproportionate to the problem. The calendar drift was slow. It had taken 1,600 years to lose 10 days. It would take thousands more to lose another 10. There was no immediate crisis. The seasons were not collapsing. The harvest was not failing because of the date. So why the rush? Why the drastic measure of deletion? There are rumors that have persisted for centuries that the motivation was not purely astronomical. These rumors suggest that the astronomers had found something else, something that frightened them more than a drifting Easter. During the renovations of the Vatican Astronomers' Tower, they say Clavius found a pattern in the old records. He was looking at the data from the Council of Nicaea, the ancient gathering of bishops in the year 325. He was comparing their star charts with his own. And he found a discrepancy that mathematics could not explain. It was not just that the sun was out of place. It was that the speed of time itself seemed to be changing. The calculation of the solar year is based on the idea that the Earth's orbit is constant. Stability is the foundation of all our timekeeping. But what if it isn't? What if the Earth does not move through the void at a perfect, steady pace? The theory whispered among the esoteric circles of Rome was that time was accelerating, that the universe was winding down faster than the Bible predicted. If the Church did not intervene, if they did not reset the clock, then the end times, the apocalypse, might arrive sooner than the prophecies allowed. They needed to buy time, literally, buy. Cutting out the 10 days they were resetting the cosmic odometer. They were trying to trick the mechanism of the universe into alignment with the scriptures. It was an act of theological engineering. They were trying to force the sky to match the book. Imagine the burden of that secret. Imagine sitting in the Vatican Observatory looking through a telescope at the dark, unblinking eye of Jupiter and believing that you are the only one who knows the clock is ticking too fast. You have to save the world from its own expiration date. You have to convince the Pope to change history to hide the fact that history is running out. This is the atmosphere we are stepping into. A world where time is not a fixed reality but a construct that can be edited by powerful men in dark rooms. A world where 10 days can vanish and we are expected to forget they ever existed. As we move deeper into this story, we will leave the public square. We will leave the rioting peasants and the confused travelers. We are going to descend into the cold earth beneath the Vatican. We are going to find the artifacts that suggest the Gregorian reform was a cover-up for a discovery made during the Crusades. A discovery that was brought back from the Temple of Solomon and hidden in the deepest vault of the church. The calendar was just the surface. The mirror was the truth. They told you the Knights Templar were created to protect pilgrims. They told you 9 poor knights traveled to Jerusalem to guard the dusty roads. That is the official story. That is the safe lie. But history is not written in ink. It is written in blood and erased by fire. The truth is much darker. In the year 1199, men did not go to the Holy Land to protect anyone. They went to dig. For 9 years, they lived in the stables of Solomon's temple, and they never patrolled the roads. They excavated. They tunneled through solid rock into the dark beneath the Temple Mount, and they did not find gold. They did not find jewels. They found something that made the Pope tremble. They found a secret so dangerous that the Church gave them absolute power just to keep them quiet. It was not about faith. It was about leverage. This is the story of the artifact that challenged God. This is the truth the king buried. Now, let us turn back the pages of the years. Let the noise of the modern world fade away. Imagine you are no longer where you are. The light is dim. The chamber is quiet. The scent of aged parchment and beeswax candles fills the air. Outside, the wind whispers through ancient stone arches. You are safe here. You are watching from the shadows of history. Breathe deeply and let the dust of the centuries settle around us. We are going back to the sand, back to the stone, back to the silence. The heat in Jerusalem is not like the heat in Europe. It is a heavy thing. It presses down on the shoulders like a physical weight. The year is 1119. The Crusades have left the city battered but standing. The air smells of dry earth and incense and old stone. Imagine, you are standing in the shadow of the Temple Mount. It is colossal, a mountain of masonry built by giants of the past. The sun is setting behind the western wall, casting long purple shadows across the sand. The city is quieting down for the night. The merchants are packing away their spices and silks. The pilgrims are finding shelter, but there is one place where the work is just beginning. Look towards the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which the Crusaders call the Temple of Solomon. It is a fortress of worship. King Baldwin II has given a wing of this palace to a strange new order of men. They call themselves the Poor Fellow Soldiers of Christ. We know them as the Templars. History tells us there were 9 of them. Only 9, consider that number. Why would a king give the most sacred site in Christendom to 9 men? Why would he give them the stables right above the ancient vaults? If they were guards, they would be on the roads. They would be riding out to Jaffa or Jericho watching for bandits. But they are not riding. The horses are quiet in the stables. The armor is UMBCKLED. Listen closely. Can you hear it? It is the sound of metal striking stone. It is coming from beneath the floor. Hugh Dupayens is the leader. Imagine him, a man of iron will. His face is weathered by the sun and scarred by battle. He stands in the flickering light of a torch deep underground. The air down here is cool and stale. It has not moved for 1,000 years. They have broken through the flagstones of the stable floor. They have found a shaft, a vertical tunnel that drops down into the blackness. Most men would be afraid of the dark. The medieval mind is filled with terrors of demons and spirits. But these men are not afraid. They are driven by a purpose that we are only just beginning to understand. They were sent here to find something specific. They have a map. Not a map of the land, but a map of the architecture. They lower the ropes. The torchlight dances on the limestone walls. The shadows stretch and twist. One by one, the knights descend into the belly of the mountain. It is silent down here. The sounds of the city above are gone. No bells, no prayers. Just the sound of their breath and the crunch of their boots on the rubble. They are walking through history. These tunnels were built by King Solomon. They were expanded by Herod. They were sealed by the Romans when they burned the city 1,000 years ago. The dust is thick. It coats their throats. Every step kicks up a cloud of white powder. It settles on their tunics. The red cross on their chest is covered in the dust of the Holy Land. They are looking for a chamber. Let us pause and think about what this means. The Church teaches that the truth is in the Scripture, but these men are looking for a truth that is physical, a truth you can hold in your hands. They dig for weeks, then months, then years. 9 years. Imagine the patience. Night after night, while the world sleeps, these 9 nights are digging. They carry baskets of rubble up the shafts. They hide the debris so no one sees. It is a secret operation. The first black operation in history. What kept them going? Was it greed? No, you do not dig through solid rock for 9 years just for gold. You do it for power. You do it because you know something is there. The torchlight flickers. It is growing dim. The air is thin down here, then the sound changes. The pickaxe does not hit solid rock. It hits something hollow. A thud. The nights freeze. The silence in the tunnel becomes absolute. The dust hangs in the air like a ghost. Hugh DePayan steps forward. He raises the torch. There's a wall in front of them. But it is not a natural wall. It is masonry, precise, perfect, and it bears a mark, a symbol carved into the stone. It is not a Christian cross. It is older. Much older. They have found the vault. Heartbeats quicken. The heavy wool of their tunics feels hot. They work faster now. They pry the stones loose. One by one, the heavy blocks crash to the floor. A hole opens up. A black mouth leading into a sealed room. The air that rushes out smells strange. It smells of ozone and cedar and ancient oil. It does not smell like decay. It smells like preservation. Hugh DePayan enters first. He holds the torch high. The room is vast. The ceiling is supported by pillars that disappear into the darkness above. And there in the center of the room is not a pile of gold coins. It is not the Ark of the Covenant, as the legends say. It is a library, scrolls, hundreds of them, sealed in copper jars, stored in stone niches, and something else. In the center of the room, resting on a stone pedestal, is an object. It is wrapped in cloth that has turned to dust. The official history books stop here. They tell you the Templars became rich and powerful. They do not tell you why. They do not tell you that they carried these scrolls and this object out of the tunnel in the dead of night. They packed them into wooden crates. They sealed the crates with wax. And they did not give them to the King of Jerusalem. They did not give them to the patriarch of the city. They stopped digging. Their mission was complete. Within weeks they were on a ship. Not just any ship, a fast ship, bound for Italy, bound for Rome. Imagine the journey. The Mediterranean Sea is blue and calm, but the minds of these knights are storming. They know what they are carrying. They have read the scrolls. Or perhaps they have had them translated. The knowledge in those scrolls challenges everything. It speaks of a lineage. It speaks of a geometry that connects the earth to the stars. It speaks of a version of Christianity that existed before the Church of Rome. This is why they were dangerous. When they arrived in Europe, they did not go as beggars. They went as masters. They walked into the Vatican. They stood before the Pope, and they did not kneel. Think about the audacity. 9 men standing before the Vicar of Christ, the most powerful man in the world. And they are not afraid. They show him what they found. We do not know exactly what was said in that private chamber, but we know the result. Instantly, the Templars were given money. They were given land. They were given exemption from all laws. They could cross borders without being checked. They paid no taxes. They answered to no one but the Pope himself. Why? Why would the Church give away so much power? Because the Church was afraid. The Templars had found the leverage. They had found the proof that the history taught to the masses was incomplete. Let us drift deeper now. Let the image of the stone vault fade. Imagine the flickering candlelight in the Pope's chamber. The shadows are long. The secret is safe for now. But the Templars have the key. They have the knowledge. And knowledge is the only true currency of the world. As you lie there in the dark, consider this. The cathedrals the Templars would build later, the Gothic arches, the soaring spires, they were not just buildings. They were codes. They were the secrets of Solomon's temple, hidden in plain sight. The stone speaks if you know how to listen. The discovery was made. The secret was secured. But secrets have a way of getting out. The Templars became the bankers of the world. They became the guardians of the Grail, but their doom was written the moment they opened that vault. For to hold a secret that big is to invite destruction. The King of France is watching. He is jealous. He is in debt, and he is sharpening his knife, but that is a story for the turning of the tide. For now, the knights are safe. The treasure is hidden. The tunnels beneath the temple are silent once again. The dust settles. The ghosts of the past are watching. The candles burn low. The chamber is warm. The truth is buried deep beneath the stone, waiting for the right moment to rise again. But what exactly was written on those scrolls? What was the specific geometry that allowed them to build the impossible? To understand that, we must look at the strange ships they sailed and the maps they drew long before Columbus. The ocean holds the next piece of the puzzle. The ship docks in Italy. The crates are unloaded. And the world changes. It does not happen overnight, but to the historian looking back, it happens with lightning speed. The order grows. It explodes. From 9 men, they become thousands. They are no longer just knights. They are the masters of Europe. Think of the Gothic cathedrals. Chartres, Amiens, Notre Dame. They rise from the earth during this exact time. Have you ever wondered how? How did Europe suddenly relearn the engineering to build stone spires that touch the clouds? The Romans had lost that knowledge. The Dark Ages had forgotten it, but the Templars brought it back. They are building stone machines. These cathedrals are not just for prayer. They are amplifiers. The geometry of the arches creates a resonance, a sound, a vibration that affects the human mind. The blueprint for these structures was not drawn in France. It was found in the vault beneath Jerusalem. They are building a copy of Solomon's temple in every major city in Europe. And with the buildings came the gold. The Templars invented the check. They invented modern banking. A pilgrim could deposit gold in London and withdraw it in Jerusalem with a piece of paper. This was magic to the medieval world. It was alchemy. They became richer than God. They owned 9,000 manors. They owned a fleet of ships. They owned entire islands. Kings borrowed money from them. The church borrowed money from them. They became the invisible government of the Western world, but arrogance is a blinding light. They began to live by their own rules. They held secret meetings at night. They initiated new members with rituals that no outsider was allowed to see. Rumors began to spread. People whispered that the Templars did not worship Jesus. They whispered that they worshipped a severed head. A head they kept in a silver box. Was it the head of John the Baptist? Was it the head of Hugestapans? Or was it something else? Something they found in the dark beneath the mountain? The peasants whispered of a dark idol. They called it Baphomet. The Templars did not care. They were untouchable. They answered only to the Pope, and the Pope was in their debt. But the wheel of fortune is always turning. It is the year 1307. The beginning of the 14th century. The world is changing again. The climate is cooling. Crops are failing. People are hungry, and in France there sits a king who is desperate, Philip the Fourth. Philip the Fair, he is a cold man, a calculating man, and he is broke. He owes the Templars more money than his entire kingdom is worth. He looks at their castles. He looks at their gold. He looks at their power, and he decides he does not want to pay. His debt. He decides to kill his creditors, but you cannot just arrest the army of God. You cannot just attack the Templars. They are too strong. They are too trained. You have to destroy their reputation first. You have to make them monsters. Philip uses the rumors. He uses the whispers. He sends his spies into the taverns and the marketplaces. They spread lies. They say the Templars spit on the cross. They say they kiss each other in shame. They say they worship the devil. It is a campaign of information warfare. The first of its kind, and it works. The date is set. It is a date that will live in infamy forever. A date that creates a superstition we still fear today. Friday the 13th, October 3rd in 07. King Philip writes sealed orders. He sends them to every bailiff and soldier in France. The orders are not to be opened until dawn on that specific Friday. Imagine the coordination. In an age without phones, without internet, hundreds of envelopes are opened at the exact same moment across the entire country. The element of surprise is total. The Templars are asleep in their beds. They are not wearing their armor. They are not holding their swords. The king's men kick down the doors. They drag the knights out in chains. They arrest thousands in a single morning. The Grand Master Jacques de Molay is taken. The old warrior who had fought in the East, who had held the secrets, is thrown into a dungeon. The torture begins. We will not dwell on the horror of the torture. But know this. It was designed to break the mind as well as the body. They wanted confessions. They wanted the Templars to admit to the lies. And under the agony of the rack, many of them did. They confessed to worshiping the cat. They confessed to denying Christ, but notice something important. Even under torture, none of them gave up the secret of the artifact. None of them told where the treasure had gone, because the treasure was gone. On the night before the raid, a fleet of Templar ships left the port of La Rochelle. 18 galleys, heavy with cargo. They sailed into the mist of the Atlantic, and they were never seen again. Where did they go? Did they go to Scotland to join with the excommunicated King Robert the Bruce? Did they go to Portugal, where the Templars simply changed their name to the Order of Christ? Or did they go further? There are maps found in stone carvings in Rosslyn Chapel in Scotland. Carvings of plants that only grow in America. Maize, aloe, carved 100 years before Columbus was born. Did the Templars cross the ocean? Did they take the secret of Solomon to the New World? We do not know. The ocean keeps its secrets well. Back in Paris, the end is nearing. It is 7 years later. 1314. Jacques Merlet has been in prison for 7 years. He is an old man now. His body is broken, but his spirit has returned. He retracts his confession. He stands before the judges and declares the order is innocent. He declares the king is a liar. Philip is furious. He orders the Grand Master to be burned at the stake that very evening. They build the pyre on a small island in the Seine River. The sun is setting. The crowds gather. They are silent. They know they are watching the death of an era. They tie the old man to the post. They pile the wood high. They light the fire. As the flames rise, Jacques de Molay does not scream. He does not beg for mercy. He stares through the fire. He looks directly at the royal palace. He looks directly at the cathedral where the Pope is staying, and he speaks. His voice is loud. It cuts through the roar of the fire. He curses them. God knows who is in the wrong and has sinned, he shouts. Misfortune will soon befall those who have wrongly condemned us. God will avenge our death. He points a burning finger. Pope Clement. King Philip, I summon you. I summon you to appear before the tribunal of God within a year. The fire consumes him. The smoke rises. The ashes drift down the river. The people are terrified. They go home in silence. Was it just the ranting of a dying man? Pope Clement V was a healthy man. He was wealthy. He was secure. 33 days later, he was dead. He died of a sudden sickness that turned his stomach to fire. His body was left in a church overnight. A lightning bolt struck the church and burned it down. His body was almost destroyed. King Philip was 46. He was strong. The Iron King, before the year was out, he went hunting. A wild boar charged him. Or perhaps his horse stumbled. He fell, he never recovered. He died in agony. Within 1 year both men were dead. And Philip's lineage? He had 3 sons, all strong. All healthy. Within 12 years, all 3 sons died without producing a male heir. The Capetian dynasty, which had ruled France for 300 years, was extinct, wiped off the face of the earth. The curse was real. The Templars were destroyed. Or so they said, but you cannot destroy an idea. You cannot burn a secret. The knights who escaped went underground. They took off the white mantles with the red cross. They put on the clothes of stonemasons. They put on the clothes of scholars. They infiltrated the guilds. They started new orders. The Rosicrucians. The Freemasons. The invisible college. The knowledge they found beneath Jerusalem was preserved. It was hidden in symbols on the back of the dollar bill. In the layout of Washington, D.C., in the architecture of the modern world. The artifact, the Ark, the Holy Grail. Perhaps it is still buried. Perhaps it is under the floor of Rosslyn Chapel. Perhaps it is in a deep shaft on Oak Island. Or perhaps it is not a physical thing at all. Maybe the treasure is the knowledge itself. The knowledge that we are more than we are told. The knowledge that history is a construct. The Templars knew that the true temple is not made of stone. It is made of the mind. Now the fire has burned down. The ash has floated away on the river of time. The king is gone. The Pope is gone. The knights are gone. All that remains is the silence. The story is over. The secret is safe. You can let go of the history now. Let go of the dates. Let go of the names. They are just echoes in a vast empty hall. Imagine you are walking down the tunnel beneath the Temple Mount again. But this time it is not dark. It is filled with a soft, warm light. The air is pure. The stone is smooth. You are walking deeper and deeper into the earth, away from the noise, away from the world above. Step by step. Down to the chamber. It is empty now. Just a peaceful, quiet space. A sanctuary for your mind. There is a simple bed there, soft and inviting. You lie down. You close your eyes. The stone walls protect you. The weight of the mountain above you is a blanket of safety. Nothing can reach you here. The ancient knights are standing guard at the gates of your dreams. They are watching over your rest. You are part of the story now. But the story is sleeping. And so are you. The breath comes in. The breath goes out. Slow. Steady. Deep. The candle flickers one last time and goes out. Darkness. Peace. Silence. In the year 1582, the most powerful man in the world did something impossible. He stole 10 days from history. He did not just change a calendar. He erased time. Imagine going to sleep on the night of Thursday, October 4th, and waking up the next morning on Friday, October 15th. 10 days vanished. 10 sunrises that never happened. 10 sunsets that never came. The church told the world it was just mathematics. They said the calendar was drifting and they needed to fix the date of Easter. That is the lie. That is the cover story they taught you in school. But deep in the Vatican Secret Archives there is a journal that tells a different story. A leather-bound book written by Pope Gregory XIII himself. It was never meant to be seen. It was never meant to be read. Because in those pages the Holy Father does not talk about math. He talks about what he saw in the sky. He talks about the misalignment of the stars. He talks about the reason why humanity had to be pushed forward in time. They did not remove those 10 days to save the calendar. They removed them to hide something. This is the truth the king buried. Now let us turn back the pages of the years. The modern world is loud and fast, but where we are going there is only silence. The light is dim. The chamber is quiet. The scent of aged parchment and melting wax fills the air. Outside the window, the eternal city of Rome lies sleeping under a blanket of stars. You are safe here. You are watching from the shadows of the Vatican Library. Breathe deeply. Let the dust of the centuries settle around us. We are going back to the moment the clock stopped. Back to the tower. Back to the decision that changed time itself. The year is 1580. The location is the Tower of the Winds. It sits high above the Vatican Gardens. It is a fortress of astronomy, a stone needle pointing at the heavens. Inside the walls are painted with frescoes of storms and shipwrecks. In the center of the floor there is a small hole. A meridian line. Every day at noon a beam of sunlight shoots through the hole and strikes the floor. It is a solar calendar, a machine made of light and stone. Pope Gregory XIII stands there. He is an old man, 78 years of age. His face is lined with worry. His robes are heavy velvet. He watches the dot of light on the floor. He is waiting. Beside him stands Christopher Clavius, the Jesuit astronomer, the genius, the man who can speak the language of numbers. They are watching the sun, and they are terrified because the sun is in the wrong place. According to the Julian calendar. The calendar established by Julius Caesar 1600 years ago today should be the spring equinox. The day when light and dark are equal, but the light on the floor says otherwise. The sun is drifting. The calendar is falling behind the solar system by 11 minutes every year. It sounds small. 11 minutes. But over 16 centuries, those minutes have become days. 10 days. The world is out of sync. Easter is drifting toward summer. The harvest festivals are drifting toward winter. If they do not fix it eventually, they will be celebrating Christmas in the heat of July. This is the official crisis. This is the problem they discuss in the open courts. But at night, in the private chambers of the Pope, the conversation is different. Imagine the atmosphere. The heavy curtains are drawn. The candles flicker in the draft. Gregory opens his journal. He dips his quill in the ink. He writes not as a pope, but as a frightened man. He writes about the dissonance. The medieval mind believed that the movements of the planets were the music of the spheres, God's perfect clockwork. If the calendar on earth does not match the calendar of the sky, then the connection to God is severed. But Gregory feared something darker. He believed that the drift was not just an error. He believed it was an opening, a gap in the armor of time. During those 10 extra days, those days that existed on the calendar, but not in the sky, the world was vulnerable. It was a time of chaos. A time when the laws of nature were weak. He called them the ghost days, and he decided they had to be destroyed. Fixing time is not easy. You cannot just tell the farmers in France or the merchants in Venice that tomorrow is a different day. Time is money. Time is law. Rents are due on the first of the month. Interest is calculated by the day. If you delete 10 days, who pays the rent? Do the servants get paid for work they did not do? Do the bankers lose their interest? Clavius, the mathematician, argued for logic. He laid out the charts. He showed the Pope the perfect solution. Skip 10 days. Just once. Rip the page out of the book. But Gregory hesitated. In his journal he writes of a dream, a recurring nightmare that plagued him during the discussions. He dreamed he was standing on the edge of a cliff. But the cliff was not made of earth. It was made of time. Below him was a void. A darkness so absolute it hurt to look at, and in that void he saw the 10 days. He was about to erase. He saw people wandering in the gray mist. Souls born on dates that would never exist. He wondered about the metaphysical cost. If you delete a day, do you delete the destiny of everyone who was supposed to act on that day? If a king was supposed to die on October 10th, but October 10th never happens, does the king live forever? These are the questions that kept the Pope awake, but the pressure was mounting. The other kingdoms were watching. The Protestants in the north were laughing at the Catholic calendar. They said the Pope had lost control of the heavens. Gregory had to act. He issued the papal bull. It was called Inter Gravisimas. Among the most serious things, the document was signed. The seal was pressed in red wax. The order went out to the world. Thursday, October 4th, 1582 will be followed immediately by Friday, October 15th. The days between shall not exist. They shall be stricken from the record of the earth. We live in a world of digital time. If the clock changes on our phone, we barely notice. But imagine the peasant in 1582. To him, time is not a number. Time is a cycle. It is the moon. It is the crops. It is the saints. When the town criers stood in the squares and read the proclamation, panic spread like a plague. People screamed. They tore their clothes. In Frankfurt, riots broke out in the streets. Men attacked the homes of the mathematicians. They believed the Pope was stealing their lives. They believed that by removing 10 days, the Pope was shortening their lifespan. They thought they would die 10 days sooner. Give us back our 11 days, they shouted. It was mass hysteria. But the Pope was firm. The Jesuits were sent out to explain. They used logic. They used diagrams. But how do you explain to a mother that her child's birthday no longer exists? How do you explain to a prisoner that his sentence has not been shortened even though the days are gone? The confusion was total, but amidst the chaos, Gregory sat in the Vatican. He was not watching the riots. He was watching the sky. He was waiting for the alignment to click back into place. In his locked journal, he noted the exact moment the shift happened. He wrote that the air felt different. He wrote that the hum of the universe returned to the correct pitch. But he also wrote a warning. He wrote that time is not a straight line. It is a fabric. And when you cut a fabric and stitch it back together, there is always a seam, a scar. He believed that October 15th, 1582 was a scar on the face of history, a place where the stitching was rough, and he worried that things might slip through that seam. What actually happened during the 10 days that were skipped? Officially nothing. The calendar just jumped, but conspiracy theorists and mystics have argued for centuries that the days did happen. They just happened in a different dimension. They argue that the Pope did not erase them. He hid them. Why? What was happening in October 1582 that was so dangerous it had to be quarantined from reality? Some say there was a celestial event, a passing of a comet or a dark star that brought with it a madness. The journal hints at this. Gregory describes reports from the spies in the east, reports of a madness of the moon. If the calendar had not been shifted, the alignment of this dark star with the earth would have been exact. It would have opened a gate. By shifting the dates, by pushing the earth forward, the Pope dodged the bullet. He moved the target. He saved the world by tricking the sky. It is a fantastic thought. The Pope as a cosmic cheat. But look at the history. The Gregorian calendar was not accepted by everyone. The British Empire refused to change. They hated the Pope. They stayed on the old Julian calendar for another 170 years. Russia refused. Greece refused. For nearly 2 centuries, Europe existed in 2 different times. You could catch a boat from France and arrive in England on a date before you left. You could write a letter in London and receive a reply from Paris, dated 10 days in the future. The world was fractured. And Gregory knew this would happen. He knew he was breaking the unity of mankind, but he did it anyway, because the alternative was worse. Let us move away from the panic now. Let us return to the quiet of the tower. The decision is made. The deed is done. The Gregorian calendar is the system we still use today. Every time you look at your phone, every time you schedule a meeting, you are living in Pope Gregory's time. We are living in the adjusted reality. The journal sits on the desk. The ink is dry. Gregory looks out at the stars. The constellation of Cassiopeia hangs low in the sky. He feels the weight of his office. He holds the keys to the kingdom of heaven, but he also holds the keys to the clock of the earth. He wonders if God is angry. He wonders if the people who lost their birthdays will be lost in the afterlife. He closes the book. He locks the clasp. He hides it in a chest of cedar wood. Let them believe it was math, he whispers to the empty room. Let them believe it was only about the sun. The truth is too heavy for the common man to carry. The truth is that time is fragile. It is a construct, a shared dream that we all agree to believe in, and if one man can change it, then it is not real. The Journal of Pope Gregory remains one of the great mysteries of the Vatican. But it is not the only secret hidden in those archives. There are other books that do not talk about time, but about the people who came before us. The giants, the bloodlines, the maps of lands that do not exist on any globe. As we close the cover on the stolen days of October, we must ask ourselves what else has been edited out of our history. What other chapters were ripped from the book before we were born? The answer lies not in Rome, but in the ice of the uttermost south. But for now the questions can wait. The chest is locked. The tower is silent. The stars continue their slow, endless turning above the dome of St. Peter's. Let us dwell on that thought. If time is flexible, then our reality is flexible. Gregory knew this. The journal entries from the later years of his life change in tone. They become less about astronomy and more about psychology. He writes about the phantom pain of time. You know the feeling. The feeling of waking up and not knowing what day it is. The feeling of walking into a room and forgetting why you are there. The sensation of déjà vu, where you feel you have lived this exact moment before. Gregory called these echoes. He believed that by cutting out those 10 days, he created an echo in the human mind. A confusion that settles deep in the soul. Before 1582, humanity lived in rhythm with nature. After 1582, we lived in rhythm with a machine. A paper machine created in the Vatican. We became disconnected. In the archives, there are letters from doctors of that era. They report a sudden increase in melancholy. People feeling a deep, unexplainable sadness. Was it because their internal clock was broken? The body knows the truth even if the mind accepts the lie. The cells of your body count the days. They know when the moon is full. They know when the solstice arrives. When the Pope forced the world to jump forward, the collective body of mankind suffered a shock. A jet lag that has lasted for 500 years. Perhaps that is why the modern world feels so rushed, so anxious. We are constantly trying to catch up to the 10 days we lost. We are running a race where the finish line was moved while we were sleeping. Reflect on this as you lie here. Does time feel real to you? Or does it feel like a pressure? The ancient Greeks had two words for time. Chronos and Kairos. Chro is the time of the clock, the seconds ticking away, the time that Gregory controlled, but Kairos is different. Kairos is the time of the moment, the time of the sunset, the time of the dream. In this chamber, we are stepping out of Chronos. We are stepping out of Gregory's calendar. We are returning to Kairos. The journal of the Pope ends abruptly. The last entry is dated just before his death in 1585. He writes one final sentence. I have fixed the sun, but I have broken the shadow. What did he mean? Did he mean that by fixing the date he cast a shadow over the future? Or did he mean something more literal? There are legends that say on the anniversary of the lost days in October, the shadows in the Vatican fall in the wrong direction. That for 10 days a year the laws of physics bend in the papal gardens. We will never know. The journal is locked. The key is gone. The library is dark now. The candles have burned down to pools of wax. The figure of the Pope is gone. The astronomers have packed away their astrolabes and telescopes. The riots in the streets have turned to dust. History has moved on. The world accepted the new time. The scar healed over, but here in the silence, we remember. We remember the days that never were. The dust settles on the leather covers of the books. Millions of words. Millions of secrets. Sleeping in the dark, you are safe here among them. The conflict is over. The anxiety of the calendar cannot touch you here. Here there is no October 4th or October 15th. There is only now. The eternal now. Feel the heavy atmosphere of the room wrapping around you like a warm cloak. The scent of old paper is comforting. It is the scent of knowledge resting. The questions you have about your own life, about your own time, let them drift away. They belong to the world outside. They belong to the daylight. Here in the lower slumber, there is no need for answers. There is only the story. And the story is fading. Now it is time to leave the Vatican. It is time to leave the tower. Imagine you are walking down a long spiral staircase. It is made of white marble, smooth and cool under your feet. You are descending, step by step, down, and down, with every step you leave a year behind. You are walking out of history. You are walking into your own rest. The sound of your footsteps is soft, rhythmic. 1, 2, 3. The air gets cooler. More peaceful. At the bottom of the stairs there is a door. It is heavy and wooden. You push it open. Inside there is your sanctuary. A room built just for you. It is not made of stone. It is made of clouds. It is made of night. There is a bed waiting. It is soft. It is warm. You lie down. You sink into the mattress. The weight of your body releases. The tension in your shoulders melts away. The tension in your jaw lets go. You are floating in the space. Between the days, the ghost days, but they are not scary. They are peaceful. They are a space where time does not exist. A space where you can just be no clocks ticking, no alarms ringing, no calendars turning, just the rhythm of your breath and out slow and deep the Pope's journal is closed. The stars are in their right place. The universe is balanced you are balanced Let the darkness wash over you. A gentle wave of sleep it starts at your toes. Warm and heavy. It moves up your legs, up your spine, into your chest. Your heart beats slowly. There is a reason why the Vatican Secret Archives are built like a fortress. They do not just hold paper. They hold things that defy reality. We are told that in the year 1582, Pope Gregory changed the calendar to align the dates with the sun. That is the lie they taught you in school. That is the safe version of history. The truth is buried much deeper. The truth lies in a black obsidian mirror brought from the jungles of the New World. A mirror that did not show your reflection. It showed the future. In 1581, the Pope looked into this black glass and he saw something that terrified him to his very soul. He saw a date. October 9th, 1582. The mirror showed the sky turning to fire and the earth cracking open on that specific day. It was a prophecy of the apocalypse. Fixed in time, unavoidable, or so they thought. The church could not stop the event, but they realized they could do something else. They could cheat time itself. They deleted the day. They erased October 9th from the calendar. The day of the apocalypse never happened because officially that day never existed. They skipped it, and the mirror went silent. This is the truth the king buried. Now let us turn back the pages of the years. Let the noise of the modern world fade into the distance. Imagine you are no longer in your room. You are walking through the stone corridors of history. The light is dim here. The air is cool and smells of beeswax candles and ancient dust. The shadows are long and they move slowly across the walls. You are safe. You are a ghost walking through the memories of the world. Breathe deeply. Let the silence of the archives wrap around you like a heavy velvet cloak. We are going back to the room where the decision was made. Back to the object that started it all. The object sits on a table of dark oak. It does not look like much at first glance. It is a disc of black stone, polished so smooth that it looks like frozen water. It is obsidian. Volcanic glass. It feels cold to the touch. A cold that seeps into your fingertips and travels up your arm. This object traveled a long way to get to Rome. It came from the empire of the Aztecs. They called it the smoking mirror. For centuries, the priests of the New World used it to speak to their gods. They believed it was a portal, a doorway between the world of the living and the world of the dead. When the Spanish conquistadors arrived, they destroyed the temples. They melted the gold. They burned the books, but they did not destroy the mirror. They were afraid of it. Soldiers claimed that when they walked past the mirror, they heard whispers. They claimed that they saw faces in the black glass, faces of men who had not been born yet. So they packed it in a crate lined with straw. They loaded it onto a galleon bound for Spain. It crossed the Atlantic Ocean. It survived storms. It survived pirates. It survived the greed of kings. And finally it arrived in the hands of a man named John Dee. You may have heard of him. The Queen's magician, the man who spoke to angels. He was a scholar of the highest order, a mathematician, a navigator, but he was also a man obsessed with the forbiddance. He studied the mirror for years. He wrote that the black glass was not just a stone. He said it was a camera, a device that could capture light from other times. He noted that the mirror seemed to have a pulse. On certain nights when the moon was dark, the surface of the obsidian would ripple like a pond, disturbed by a pebble, and then the visions would begin. John Dee was terrified of what he saw. He saw wars that would happen in 500 years. He saw machines flying in the sky. He saw cities of glass and steel burning. He knew this object was too dangerous for England. It was too dangerous for any one man. So he sent it to the only place on earth that knew how to keep a secret. The Vatican. Imagine the arrival. A rainy night in Rome, a carriage clattering over the cobblestones. A wooden box carried. Through the side door of the Apostolic Palace. It was taken directly to the private study of the Pope Gregory XIII. We spoke of him before. The man of the calendar. The man of science. But he was also a man of deep superstition. He placed the mirror on his desk. He lit a single candle. And he looked into the darkness. What happens when a man of God looks into an object of magic? The room was silent. The only sound was the scratching of a quill on parchment in the next room. Gregory stared. The black surface began to clear. The smoke inside the stone parted. And he saw the date. He saw the numerals burning in red. 1582 October, the 9th day. And behind the date he saw the end. He saw the 7 seals of Revelation breaking. He saw the stars falling from the sky like figs from a shaken tree. He pulled away. He gasped for air. His heart was hammering against his ribs. He covered the mirror with a cloth, but he could not unsee it. The prophecy was specific. It was tied to a specific rotation of the earth, a specific alignment of the planets on that specific day. The medieval mind believed that time was a rigid structure, a ladder that led from creation to Judgment Day. You could not step off the ladder, but Gregory had a thought so radical it bordered on heresy. What if you removed the rung of the ladder? What if the day never arrived? If the prophecy says the world ends on October 9th and the world jumps from October 4th straight to October 15th, then October 9th has no place to land. It becomes a ghost day. A day without a sunrise. It was a loophole, a cosmic cheat code, he called his astronomers. He called Christopher Clavius. He did not tell them about the mirror. He told them about the math. He told them about the drift of Easter. He gave them the scientific reasons, but his urgency was real. We must change it now, he told them. We must change it this year. 1582. The astronomers were confused. They said, Holy Father, why the rush? We can wait a few years. We can prepare the people. No, Gregory said. His voice was like iron. It must be done before October. And so the great machine of the church went to work. The decree went out. The world prepared to lose 10 days. But inside the Vatican, a different preparation was happening. They moved the mirror. They took it deep underground, down the spiral staircases, past the library, past the vaults of gold, into the foundations of the hill itself. They built a room specifically for the mirror, a room lined with lead. They believed lead would dampen the energy. They placed the mirror on a pedestal in the center of the room, and they waited. October 4th arrived. The feast of St. Francis, the sun set over Rome. The bells rang for the evening. Prayer, people went to bed. And the world held its breath. This was the moment of the jump. In the underground chamber, Pope Gregory stood alone with the mirror. He was dressed in plain robes. No gold, no jewels. Just a man facing the abyss. He watched the glass. According to the old calendar, the next sunrise should bring the apocalypse. The hours ticked by. Midnight passed. The mirror began to vibrate. A low hum filled the room. It was a sound not heard with the ears, but felt in the teeth. A resonance. The black surface began to swirl. The smoke returned. Gregory prayed. He recited the Psalms. He recited the prayers of protection. He watched the surface of the obsidian. He saw the fire trying to form. He saw the red light trying to break through the stone. But there was no day for it to latch onto. The calendar had shifted. The humans above ground were already living in October 15th. The prophecy was looking for a door that had been bricked up. The fire in the mirror raged. It swirled like a trapped storm. It wanted to get out. It wanted to consume the world, but it had nowhere to go. The hum grew louder. The lead walls of the room began to get warm. Gregory stood his ground. He held up his hand. Transformatio, he whispered. The transformation. And then suddenly the silence came. The humming stopped. The vibration ceased. The light inside the mirror faded. The smoke settled. The glass became black and still once again. Gregory exhaled. He slumped against the wall. He had done it. He had outsmarted fate. He had stolen a day from God, and in doing so he had saved the world. Or had he? There is a law in physics. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only change form. The energy of that apocalypse did not just vanish. It had to go somewhere. The Lore Slumber Archive suggests that the energy was absorbed by the mirror itself. The mirror became a battery, a storage vessel for a timeline that never happened, and from that day on the mirror changed. It no longer showed the future. It no longer showed the past. It showed nothing. Absolute silence. If you looked into it, you did not see your reflection. You saw a void, a darkness so deep it felt like falling. The church sealed the room. They bricked up the door. They wrote a warning in the ledger. Speculum silenti futuri. The mirror of future silence. But stories have a way of leaking out. Over the centuries, other popes have visited the wall. They say that if you press your ear against the bricks, you can still hear the humming, you can hear the sound of the fire. That is still burning inside the stone, and some say that the debt is not paid. They say that the 10 days were not erased. They were merely borrowed. And one day the debt must be settled. One day the calendar will have to skip back. One day we will have to live through the October 9th that was promised, but that is a worry for another time. For now, let us focus on the silence. Think about the concept of a silent future. We spend so much of our lives worrying about what is to come. We plan, we stress. We try to predict the outcome of our days, but here is an object that says, there is nothing to see. Maybe that is a comfort. Maybe the blank mirror is not a curse, but a gift. It tells us that the future is not written in fire. It is written in silence. It is waiting for us to fill it. The story of the mirror did not end with Gregory. You cannot hide an object of such power and expect it to remain alone. In the early 1600s, a secret brotherhood was formed within the Vatican. They were called the custodians of the Chronos, the guardians of time. Their job was simple. Watch the wall. Listen to the mirror. These men were monks who took a vow of absolute silence. It was fitting. To guard the mirror of silence, one must become silent. They lived in the underground chambers. They never saw the sun. They never spoke a word. Imagine their lives, day after day, sitting in the dark by the bricked-up door, listening. They recorded every sound. Every vibration. Their journals are strange. They do not contain words. They contain drawings, patterns of waves, sketches of geometric shapes that appeared in their minds while they sat near the mirror. They believed that the mirror was leaking. Dreams. Because the apocalypse never happened in reality, it began to happen in the subconscious of humanity. Think about the art of the 17th century. The paintings of the Baroque era. They are dark. They are filled with shadows and dramatic light. They are filled with scenes of judgment and awe. Was this the influence of the mirror? Was the stolen fire leaking out into the minds of the artists? The custodians believed so. They believed that humanity was slowly processing the end of the world through its nightmares. We were dreaming the apocalypse, so we didn't have to live it. This theory brings a strange comfort. It suggests that our bad dreams serve a purpose. They are the exhaust pipe for the disasters we have avoided. When you have a nightmare, when you wake up with your heart pounding, perhaps you have just helped the world process a little bit of that stored energy. You are a guardian too. Let us move forward in time to the present day. Does the mirror still exist? The Vatican denies it. Of course they do. They deny everything. But in 1999, during a renovation of the archives, a workman found a false wall behind a shelf of manuscripts. He reported feeling a strange coldness radiating from the bricks. He reported hearing a low hum like electricity. He was removed from the job immediately. The area was sealed off. Swiss guards were posted. Why? If it is just a story, why the guards? And consider the world we live in now. We are obsessed with screens. Black mirrors. Look at your phone when it is turned off. What do you see? You see a reflection, but you also see a black void. We carry obsidian mirrors in our pockets. We look into them for answers. We look into them to see the future, to see the weather, to see the news. Are we repeating the mistake of John Dee? Are we staring into the glass waiting for a prophecy? The mirror in the Vatican is the original, the master clock, and it sits there in the dark ticking away the stolen time. But let us step back from the fear. The room is quiet. The lid walls are thick. The danger is contained. The heavy door is locked. The monks are watching. You do not need to worry about the calendar. The days are fixed. The sun rises and sets on schedule. The phantom day is gone. There is a beauty in things that are hidden. We think we want to know everything. We wanted to know the secrets. We want to see behind the curtain, but there is a peace in not knowing. Pope Gregory wished he had never looked into the mirror. The knowledge was a burden. It turned his hair white. It made his hands shake. He learned that mystery is a form of protection. The things we do not know cannot hurt us. The days that do not exist cannot burden us. Imagine the blank surface of the mirror again. Visualize it in your mind. A perfect circle of black stone. It is not threatening. It is restful. It is a resting place for the eyes. It absorbs the light. It absorbs the noise. It is the ultimate silence. If you were to look into it now, you would not see the end of the world. You would see the end of your worries. You would see a space where nothing is required of you. No deadlines. No schedules. No dates. Just the smooth, cool darkness. The mirror sleeps in its lead chamber. But the ship that brought it to Europe carried other things. In the manifest of that galleon there is a record of a small wooden box listed as the Navigator's Eye. It was delivered not to the Pope but to a mapmaker in Venice. This object would eventually lead to the creation of a map that shows lands that are not supposed to be there. lands covered in ice that hide a tropical paradise. The Piri race map was just the beginning. The navigator's eye saw what the satellites miss. But that is a journey for another night. Now the story is fading, the archives are closing, the heavy iron doors are swinging. Shut, clang, the sound echoes and dies away. You are walking away from the mirror. You are walking up the stairs, toward the starlight. Your feet are heavy. Your body is heavy. You find yourself in a garden. The air is fresh and cool. The smell of jasmine and night-blooming flowers surrounds you. There is a hammock here. Suspended between two ancient trees, you lie down. The fabric holds you. It sways gently, back and forth, like the pendulum of a clock that is slowed down. The sky above you is dark, but it is not the scary darkness of the mirror. It is the soft, comforting darkness of the night. The stars are steady. They are not falling. They are watching over you. You are safe in the timeline. You are safe in the present moment. Let your eyes close. Visualize that smooth black stone one last time, but see it as a pool of water, still, calm, deep. Drop your thoughts into the pool. Watch them sink. They told you Galileo was arrested because he said the earth revolved around the sun. They told you it was a simple disagreement about planets and orbits. That is the lie they printed in the history books to keep you sleeping. The truth is much more terrifying. The truth is that when Galileo looked through his telescope in 1609, he did not just see Jupiter. He saw a glitch in the fabric of reality. He saw that the stars were in the wrong place. He saw that the math of the universe did not match the math of the Church. The Vatican had changed the calendar just 20 years earlier. They had deleted 10 days from time. And Galileo realized that the sky knew the truth. The stars had not shifted. The earth had been forced out of sync. He was not silenced because he was a scientist. He was silenced because he was a witness. He saw the evidence of the crime written in the constellations. He saw the seam where the timeline had been stitched back together, and he tried to tell the world, "This is the truth the king buried. Now let us turn back the pages of the years. Let the noise of the modern world fade away." Imagine you are no longer in your room. You are standing on a rooftop in Venice. The year is 1609. The air is cold and salty from the lagoon. The night is pitch black because there are no electric lights. Only the torches in the streets below and the diamonds scattered across the velvet sky above. You are safe here. You are watching from the shadows of history. Breathe deeply and let the scent of old glass and cold iron fill your lungs. We are going back to the moment the eye of humanity opened. Back to the lens. Back to the silence. Galileo Galilei is 45 years old. He is not yet the old bearded man you see in paintings. He is sharp. He is hungry. And he is holding a tube of leather and lead. He calls it the spyglass. Later they will call it the telescope. He did not invent it. A Dutchman did. But Galileo perfected it. He ground the lenses himself. Imagine the sound. The rhythmic scraping of sand against glass. Scrape, scrape, hour after hour, day after day. Until his hands were raw and his eyes were watering, he was obsessed. He wanted to see what was hidden. Tonight he stands on the campanile of St. Mark's Basilica. The Doge of Venice is there. The senators in their red robes are there. They are impressed. They look through the tube and they see ships far out at sea. They see the invisible becoming visible. They see money. They see military advantage, but Galileo does not care about ships. He waits for them to leave. He waits for the city to sleep, and then he tilts the tube up. He points it at the moon. What he sees makes him gasp. The moon is not a perfect sphere of divine light, as Aristotle taught. It is a rock. It has mountains. It has craters. It is scarred. It is imperfect. Just like the earth, this was the first crack in the glass of the Church's reality. If the heavens are imperfect, then the Church's doctrine is imperfect. But then he looked further. He looked at Jupiter. He saw 4 little stars dancing around the giant planet, moons. This proved that not everything revolved around the earth, but there was something else. Something he did not write in his famous book, The Starry Messenger. Something he only wrote in his private notes. The position of the stars was off. Galileo was a master mathematician. He knew where the stars should be. He had the charts from the ancients. He had the charts from the Arabs, but when he looked through the telescope, the stars were slightly to the left. Slightly behind. It was a minute discrepancy. Maybe only a few degrees. But to a man like Galileo, a small error is a screaming alarm. He checked his lenses. He checked his math. The error remained. He began to calculate backwards. He looked at the rate of drift, and he found the source, 1582, the year Pope Gregory changed the calendar, the year the 10 days were stolen. Galileo realized that when the Pope shifted the dates, he did not just change the paper. He tried to force the universe to comply, but the universe refused. The stars were still running on the old time. The earth was running on the new time. We were living in a lag. A celestial delay. Galileo sat on that cold rooftop, and he felt a chill that had nothing to do with the wind. He realized that the Church was not just controlling the souls of men. They were trying to control the mechanics of the solar system, and they had failed. The glitch was visible to anyone with a lens. Galileo lowered the telescope. He rubbed his tired eyes. A memory flashed in his mind. A memory of fire. 9 years earlier, Rome, the Campo de Fiori, the field of flowers. He remembered the smell of burning wood and burning flesh. He remembered Giordano Bruno. Bruno was a monk, a mystic, a man with wild eyes and wilder hair. He had run across Europe telling anyone who would listen that the universe was infinite, that there were millions of suns, millions of Earths. And he had said something else. He had said that the Vatican was a cage of time. He claimed that the calendar was a spell, a magical binding designed to keep humanity small. They burned him alive. They put an iron mask on his face to stop him from speaking his final curse. They tied him to the stake and lit the fire. Galileo had stayed silent then. He was afraid, but now holding the telescope, he realized that Bruno was right. Bruno had seen it with his mind. Galileo was seeing it with his eyes. The universe was broken. The fear took root in his belly. He knew he had to be careful. He knew he was walking on the edge of a blade. He published his findings about the moons of Jupiter. He became famous. The Grand Duke of Tuscany made him his court mathematician, but he kept the secret of the time glitch to himself for a while. News travels fast even in the 17th century. The Pope heard about the telescope. Pope Paul V, a Borghese, a man of power and stone. He invited Galileo to Rome. Imagine the journey. The carriage rattling over the Apennine Mountains. The dust, the heat. Galileo was optimistic. He thought he could explain. He thought that if he showed the Pope the truth through the lens, the Pope would understand. He was naive. He arrived in the eternal city. He was feted. He was celebrated. The Jesuits held a banquet for him, but the atmosphere was strange. The smiles were too tight. The questions were too specific. Cardinal Bellarmine came to see him. Bellarmine was the hammer of heretics, the man who had sent Bruno to the fire. He did not want to look through the telescope. He sat in Galileo's room, his red robes flowing around him like blood in the water. "Signor Galileo," he said softly, "your machine is very clever. But tell me, does it show what is there? Or does it show what you want to see?" "It shows the truth," Galileo said. Bellarmine smiled. A cold smile. "Truth is not found in glass lenses. Truth is found in Scripture." Then he leaned closer. The air in the room seemed to drop in temperature. "We have heard rumors," Bellarmine whispered. "Rumors that you claim the stars are out of place. Rumors that you speak of the calendar of Gregory as an error." Galileo's heart stopped. He had never written those words. He had only spoken them to a few friends, spies. He was surrounded by spies. "I speak only of math," Galileo stammered. "Good," Bellarmine said. "Keep it to math. Do not speak of time. Do not speak of the glitch. The calendar is God's will. To question the calendar is to question God." It was a warning, a direct threat. Galileo bowed. He kissed the ring, but his mind was racing. They knew about the glitch. They were not denying it. They were hiding it. Galileo went back to Florence. He stayed silent for years. He watched the sky every night. He documented the error. He saw that the planets were moving in ellipses, just as Kepler said, not in circles. He saw that the gap between the Church's time and the stars' time was growing. He wrote letters to Kepler in Germany. They wrote in code. "The shepherd is blind," he wrote, meaning the Pope. "The flock is lost," Kepler replied, meaning the people. Kepler was working on his own theory. He believed that the planets sang a song, the harmony of the worlds, but he told Galileo that the song was out of tune. The notes were jarring. Because the observer was standing in the wrong time. It is a profound thought. Imagine listening to a beautiful symphony, but you are hearing it through a wall that delays the sound by a fraction of a second. It sounds like chaos. That is what humanity was experiencing. A chaotic reality because we were out of sync with the cosmos. Galileo could not stay silent forever. A new pope was elected. Urban VIII. He was a friend of Galileo, an intellectual, a poet. Galileo thought he was safe. He wrote his masterpiece, Dialogue Concerning the Two Chief World Systems. He thought he was clever. He wrote it as a conversation between three men. He put the Church's arguments in the mouth of a character named Simplicio. The Simpleton. The idea that the earth was fixed. He hinted at the time error. He published the book. It was a bestseller. Everyone read it. Including the Pope. And the Pope was not amused. The betrayal was personal. The Pope felt mocked. The order was given. Season. Galileo is 69 years old now. He is sick. He has arthritis. He can barely walk. They drag him to Rome in the middle of winter. The plague is raging in Florence. He has to quarantine for weeks in a dirty hut on the border. He arrives in Rome broken. They throw him in the dungeon of the Inquisition. He waits. The psychological torture is worse than the physical. They show him the instruments, the rack, the strappado, the hot irons. They do not use them. They just show them. Confess, they say. Confess that you are wrong. Confess that the earth does not move. Confess that the stars are where we say they are. Galileo is an old man. He does not want to burn like Bruno. He kneels. The room is vast. The ceiling is high. The cardinals sit in a semicircle looking down at him. He reads the paper they prepared. Galileo Galilei abandoned the false opinion that the sun is the center. He swallows his pride. He swallows the truth. He signs the paper. Legend says that as he stood up, he muttered under his breath, "Eper si move." And yet it moves, but the Lore Slumber Archives suggest he said something else. He looked at the window where a beam of sunlight was hitting the floor. The beam was 11 minutes off from where the church dial said it should be. He whispered, "Eper si manca." And yet it is missing. He was talking about the time. The missing time. He was sentenced to house arrest for the rest of his life. He was banned from publishing, banned from speaking to crowds. He was silenced. They sent him to his villa in Arcetri in the hills above Florence. It was a beautiful prison. He had his garden. He had his wine, but he had lost his voice, and then he lost his sight. In his final years, Galileo went completely blind. The official story is that it was age, or perhaps cataracts from staring at the sun, but there is a darker theory, the theory that he saw something in the telescope in those final years that burned his retinas. Did he focus on the glitch too hard? Did he see the tear in the fabric of the sky? Maybe the human eye is not meant to see the gears of the universe. Maybe there is a safety mechanism, a fuse that blows if you look too closely at God's mistakes. He spent his last days in darkness, but even in the dark he continued to work. He dictated his theories to his students. He worked on the problem of longitude, time at sea. He was obsessed with time until his last breath. He died in 1642. The church refused to give him a proper burial. They wanted to throw his body in a hole in the ground, but his students hid his body. They buried him in a secret room under the bell Tower of Santa Croce. He lay there for 100 years, waiting for the world to catch up. While Galileo was going blind in Italy, another man was listening to the darkness in Germany. Johannes Kepler. He was not a man of the telescope. He was a man of the mind. He believed that the universe was built on geometry. He believed that the planets created a tone as they moved through the ether, the music of the spheres. Kepler spent his entire life trying to write down the sheet music of God. He calculated the orbits of Mars. He calculated the speed of Earth, but he found a problem. The song was out of tune. There was a dissonance, a jarring note that kept recurring in his calculations. He called it the dies disparitus, the disparate day. He realized that the Earth's rotation did not match the calendar of the Church. The vibration of the planet was heavy. It was dragging. Kepler wrote in his journals that the Earth felt tired. He believed that by forcing the calendar forward, Pope Gregory had put a strain on the planet's axis. Imagine a spinning top. If you touch it even lightly, it begins to wobble. Kepler believed the Earth was wobbling, and he believed this wobble caused the chaos of his time. The 30 Years' War was raging across Europe. Disease, famine, madness. Kepler thought it was all due to the bad vibrations caused by the broken time. He tried to warn the emperor. He tried to publish a new calendar, but he was ignored. He died of a fever in Regensburg, alone, penniless. His grave was destroyed by the war. His bones were scattered. The man who heard the music of the universe was silenced by the noise of men. Let us fast forward 300 years. To the year 1970-2. We are no longer using sunglasses or pendulums. We are using cesium atoms, the atomic clock. Scientists claim it is the most accurate timekeeping device ever created. It counts the vibrations of an N atom. But in 1972 the scientists noticed Something dot the Earth was slowing. Down dot the atomic time and the solar time were drifting apart again dot, so they invented something new. The leap second dot, they decided to stop the clocks. To pause time for 1 second to let the Earth catch up dot. Since then we have added 27 leap seconds to our history dot, 20-7 seconds where the clock stopped. But the world kept turning dot. Think about that dot. We are still doing it. We are still patching the timeline. Just like Pope Gregory did, we are using technology to hide the glitch, but the glitch is still there. Sometimes you feel it. Have you ever looked at a clock and felt that the second hand got stuck for just a moment too long? Have you ever had a day that felt like it lasted 100 hours? That is the wobble. That is the echo of the silencing. Galileo saw it. Kepler heard it. And we are living in it. But tonight we do not need to worry about the math. Tonight, we can step off the spinning top. Galileo's telescope is gathering dust in a museum in Florence. The lens is cracked. The leather is peeling, but the sky it looked at is still there. The stars are patient. They do not care about our calendars. They do not care about our clocks. They burn in the eternal silence of the void, and that is where we are going. We are going to a place where time is not measured in seconds, but in breaths. We are going to join the astronomers in the quiet, not the silenced astronomers, but the peaceful ones, the ones who realize that the only way to understand the universe is to close your eyes. Imagine you are walking up a long winding path on a hill. It is night. The air is crisp and cool. The smell of pine trees surrounds you. At the top of the hill there is a building. A round building with a white dome. An observatory. You walk to the heavy wooden door. It opens effortlessly. Inside it is dark. But it is a friendly darkness. You step into the center of the room. The floor is smooth stone. Above you the great dome is closed. You find a comfortable leather chair in the center of the room. It is soft. It reclines. You sit down. You lean back. You are supported. You are safe. You reach out and pull a heavy iron. Leva. Slowly, silently, the gears begin to turn. The roof of the observatory begins to open. A slit of night sky appears. It widens. And widens until the entire ceiling is gone. You are staring up into the infinite depth of the universe. The Milky Way is a river of diamond dust flowing across the sky. Jupiter is there, bright and steady. Saturn with its rings, the moon rising over the trees. You look for the glitch, but you do not see it, because here in this moment, everything is perfect. The stars are exactly where they should be. Your breath is exactly where it should be. In, and out. You feel the rotation of the earth, not as a wobble, but as a gentle rocking. Like a cradle, the planet is rocking you to sleep, spinning slowly through the velvet night. Galileo is watching over you. Kepler is humming a lullaby. The numbers fade away. The dates fade away. There is no Monday. There is no Tuesday. There is only the sky and the sleep. Your eyelids are heavy. Heavier than lead, you let them close. You are drifting among the stars. Now. Weightless. Timeless. Silent. The telescope is closed. The book is closed. The story is over. Deep. Sleep. Good night. They teach you that mathematics is the language of God. They teach you that 2 + 2 always equals 2. They tell you that numbers cannot lie. That is the greatest deception ever told. The entire modern world is built on a mathematical equation that does not balance. When the Vatican architects designed the Gregorian calendar in 1582, they were trying to calculate the exact length of a solar year. They needed to fit the rotation of the Earth into a perfect system of days and months. But when they finished the calculation, there was something left over. A remainder. A fraction of time that refused to disappear. The lead astronomer Christopher Clavius called it the phantom variable. It was a mathematical anomaly that defied the laws of physics. It proved that the Earth was not just rotating, it was losing time. Every year, a fraction of reality simply vanishes into thin air. The Church panicked. They knew they could not explain this to the world. So they buried the number. They created a complex system of leap years and skipped days, not to fix the calendar, but to hide the remainder. To hide the fact that our reality is leaking. We are not living in a closed loop. We are living in a draining vessel, and somewhere deep in the equations of the Vatican archives, the true variable is still waiting to be solved. This is the truth the king buried. Now let us turn back the pages of the years. Let the frantic pace of the digital world dissolve. Imagine you are entering a room where the only technology is ink and paper. The light is dim here. The air is cool and smells of sharpened graphite and leather bindings. You are safe. You are an observer standing in the quiet corners of history. The dust motes dance in the single beam of light falling from a high window. Breathe deeply. Let the numbers and the dates fade from your mind. We are going back to the source of the calculation. Back to the desk where the mistake was found. Back to the silence. The year is 1581. The place is the Collegio Romano. The Jesuit college in Rome. In a small study filled with globes and astrolabes sits a man named Christopher Clavius. He is a German mathematician. A genius, the man Galileo himself respected. He has been given a task by Pope Gregory. A task that sounds simple but is actually impossible. Fix time. The old Julian calendar is broken. It is 11 minutes too long. Over centuries, those 11 minutes have piled up into 10 days of error. Clavius must design a new system. A new calendar that will stay perfect forever. He dips his quill into the black ink. He pulls a fresh sheet of parchment toward him. He begins to divide. 365.2425. This is the magic number. The length of the solar year. He calculates the orbit of the sun. He calculates the spin of the earth. He calculates the moon. He fills pages with numbers. Columns of Latin numerals marching like soldiers. But late one night something happens. The candle is burning low. The city of Rome is asleep. Clavius is checking his work. He adds up the columns. He balances the equation. It does not match. He frowns. He wipes his glasses. He calculates it again. The solar year should be exact. God's creation should be perfect. The planets should move, like a clock built by a divine watchmaker. But they don't. There is a remainder, a tiny fraction of a decimal point that sits at the end of the equation like a stain. It is a variable that shouldn't be there. If the Earth is a sphere spinning in a vacuum at a constant speed, this variable is impossible. Clavius stares at the paper. His hand begins to shake. He realizes that the math implies something terrifying. It implies that the Earth is not spinning at a constant speed. Or worse, that time itself is not constant. It implies that time is elastic, that it stretches and shrinks. He tries to force the numbers to fit. He rounds up. He rounds down, but the phantom variable remains. It is a persistent ghost in the machine. He calls it variable X, the unknown. He realizes that if he publishes this, the world will panic. If he tells the Pope that God's clock is broken, he will be burned as a heretic. The Church relies on order. The Church relies on the idea that the universe is a perfect, predictable kingdom. Clavius makes a decision. He decides to cheat. He invents the leap. Year rule. You know the rule. Every 4 years we add a day. But not every 100 years unless it is divisible by 400. It is a complicated, messy rule. We are told it is to keep the seasons in check. But Clavius designed it to act as a rug under which he could sweep the dust of the phantom variable. He built a system that intentionally ignores the error. He built a cage to trap the missing time. He closed his book. He blew out the candle. He told the Pope the calendar was finished, but he kept his private notes. He kept the sheet of paper with the variable x. And he wondered, where does that missing time go? If we are losing a fraction of a second every year, where does it vanish to? Asterisk, does it simply cease to exist? Or is it being collected? Let us pause and think about what this means for you. We live our lives by the clock. We trust the seconds ticking on our wrists. We trust the calendar on the wall. But if the math is wrong, then our trust is misplaced. Clavius knew that the calendar was an approximation. A best guess. It is like drawing a circle on a piece of graph paper. You can never draw a perfect circle with square pixels. There will always be jagged edges, the phantom variable. Is the jagged edge of our reality. In the centuries following, Clavius' other mathematicians found the error. They called it the secular acceleration of the moon. They noticed that the moon was moving faster than it should, or rather that the Earth was slowing down more than the laws of friction could explain. Sir Isaac Newton saw it. He tried to fix it with gravity. Pierre Simon Laplace saw it. He tried to fix it with perturbation theory, but the number always remained. There is a theory in the Lower Slumber Archives, a theory that was discussed in hushed tones by the Jesuit astronomers. The theory of the tithe. They believed that the missing time was a payent paid to the universe for the privilege of existence. Just as we pay taxes to the king, we pay time to the cosmos. Every year the universe takes a little bit off the top, a skimming of the books. But what happens to the consciousness that exists in that missing time? If you are thinking a thought, during a second that technically doesn't exist, where does that thought go? Does it go into the phantom variable? Is there a reservoir somewhere? A library of lost moments? Imagine a place where all the skipped seconds are stored. A place where the leap days that never happened are waiting. It would be a world of pure potential. A world of unspent time. Clavius worried about this. He worried that by creating a calendar that ignored this variable, he was cutting humanity off from a source of power. He worried that he was trapping us in a flat time, a simplified version of reality, like a man living in a two-dimensional, drawing unaware that there is a third dimension right above his head. The Gregorian calendar is a flat map of a round territory. It works for navigation. It works for farming, but it does not capture the terrain. Fast forward to the modern era, the 1950s. The dawn of the computer age. The Vatican Observatory is no longer just telescopes and parchment. It is equipped with IBM mainframes. The Jesuit scientists decide to run the calculations again. They feed Clavius's original data into the machine. They feed the atomic weights of the planets. They feed the theory of relativity. The punch cards spin. The tape reels turn. The computer hums. It works for days. And then it prints out the result. The scientists gather around the printer. They look at the paper and there it is, the same remainder, the same phantom variable. Even with our advanced physics, even with Einstein's relativity, the math does not add up perfectly. There is still a gap. The computer labeled it unknown anomaly. The scientists realized that Clavius hadn't made a mistake. He had discovered a fundamental feature of the universe. The universe is not an equation that equals zero. The universe is an equation that equals unknown. This realization is profound. It means that the future is not determined. If the math doesn't balance, then the outcome is not fixed. It means there is room for magic, room for miracles, room for the unexpected. The phantom variable is the loophole in fate. It is the crack in the prison wall of determinism. If the calendar was perfect, we would be robots marching to a perfect beat, but the calendar is broken. The beat skips, and in that skip we are free. Let us move away from the machines now. Let us move into the mind. How does this impossible math affect you? Have you ever felt that time is slipping away from you? Not just in the sense of getting older, but in the sense of literal loss. You sit down to work and suddenly an hour is gone. You drive home and you cannot remember the journey. We call this autopilot. But maybe it is the phantom variable at work. Maybe those are the moments when your consciousness slips into the gap. The Clavius equation suggests that we are living in a porous reality, like a sponge. There are holes in the substance of our days. The calendar papers over these holes. It pretends the day is solid, 24 hours, 1,440 minutes, but the body knows, the body feels the glitch. This is why we need sleep. Sleep is the only time when we stop counting. You are awake. You are a slave to the Gregorian grid. You are watching the clock. You are counting the minutes. You are living in Clavius's illusion. But when you sleep, you enter the phantom variable. In dreams, time does not follow the rules. A lifetime can happen in a second. You can fly. You can be young again. You can be in two places at once. Dreams are the reality that the math couldn't capture. Dreams are the remainder. The Vatican couldn't regulate sleep. They couldn't put a calendar on your dreams. So they ignored them. But you know the truth. You know that the time you spend asleep is just as real as the time you spend awake. Perhaps it is even more real. Because in sleep you are not paying the tax. You are not losing time. You are inhabiting the pure, unadulterated flow of the universe. There is one final secret about the math. We spoke of the leap year, but there's also the leap second. In the modern world, the International Earth Rotation and Reference Systems Service, a group based in Paris, decides when to add a second to the clock. They do it secretly, or rather quietly. At midnight on certain dates they insert a second. Time reads D. Why? Why before it hits 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 0 seconds, a second that doesn't exist on your watch. Why do they do this? They say it is to keep the atomic clocks in sync with the slowing Earth. But consider the Clavius variable. Maybe they are not adding a second. Maybe they are giving one back. Maybe the powers that be are releasing a drop of the stolen time back into the reservoir. To keep the pressure from building too high. To keep the illusion from shattering. It is a delicate balance. A game of cosmic accounting. And you are the beneficiary. Every now and then you get a free second. A bonus moment. A moment of pure potential. Now imagine a number. 0. The most mysterious number of all. Clavius used 0 to balance his books. But 0 is not nothing. 0 is a circle. Zero is a whole dot. Imagine that you are standing at the edge of that hole. The phantom variable dotted is not a scary place. It is a peaceful place. It is the place where the math stops. The ticking of the clock gets softer here. The demands of the calendar fade away. There are no Mondays here. No Tuesdays. No due dates. No schedules. There is only the smooth dark curve of the zero. You are stepping out of the equation. You are stepping out of the grid. The architects of time cannot reach you here. The kings and the popes and the scientists have no power here. Here math returns to its original form. Silence. The pyramids were built with math. The cathedrals were built with math, but they were built to house the silence. The structure exists only to protect the empty space inside. You are that empty space. You are the silence inside the cathedral of time. Now imagine the night sky above you, but instead of stars, imagine they are beads on a giant abacus, a cosmic counting machine. The wires stretch from horizon to horizon, silver wires glowing in the dark. The beads are pearls of light. Slowly, a giant invisible hand moves one bead. Click. It slides across the wire. It is counting your breaths. In. Click. Out. Click. The sound is soft, like a pebble dropping into a deep well. The math is unwinding. The complications of your day are being subtracted. Minus one worry, minus one stress, minus one thought. The equation is simplifying. It is reducing down to the essential. And the dark. And the breath. The phantom variable is opening up to receive you. It is a soft, warm blanket of time. It wraps around your shoulders. You feel heavy. The gravity of the earth is pulling you down. But it is a gentle pull. It is the pull of the remainder. You are sinking into the numbers. 1. Deeper. 2. Deeper. 3. The logic centers of your brain are turning off. The lights in the library are going out one by one. Clavius puts down his pen. He closes his book. He looks at you and nods. It is solved. He whispers. The solution is sleep. The answer to the impossible equation is rest. You are the answer. Let go of the counting. Let go of the knowing. Just be, floating in the zero, drifting in the space. Between the seconds. Safe. Quiet. Eternal. Sleep. Look at the date on your phone. Look at the year. You believe it is the 21st century. You believe that 2,000 years have passed since the beginning of the Common Era. But what if I told you that is a lie? What if I told you that the year is actually 1728? It sounds like madness. It sounds like a conspiracy theory. But there is historical evidence that suggests an entire chunk of human history was faked. Specifically the years 614 to 911 AD. 300 years. The early Middle Ages, the time of Charlemagne. The historians call it the Dark Ages because there is so little information. But the truth is darker. It is dark because it never happened. Those years were inserted into the calendar by 3 men, a pope, an emperor, and a king. They fabricated battles that were never fought. They built cathedrals that were too advanced for their time. They wrote thousands of fake documents to fill the empty space. Why? To align their reign with the year 1000. To claim the power of the millennium. We are living in a phantom time. We are living in a timeline that was stretched like a rubber band until it snapped. This is the truth the king buried. Now let us turn back the pages of the years. Let the digital clock on your wall fade away. Let the numbers dissolve. Imagine you are walking through the heavy oak doors of an ancient monastery. The air is cool and smells of damp stone and burning beeswax. The light is dim. Only the flicker of candlelight illuminates the long rows of leather-bound books. You are safe here. You are watching from the shadows of the scriptorium. The monks are bent over their desks, scratching ink onto parchment. But look closely at what they are writing. They are not recording history. They are inventing it. Breathe deeply. Let the silence of the library wrap around you. We are going back to the moment the timeline was broken. Back to the conspiracy of the Three Crowns. The year is ostensibly 999, but in reality it is only 700. And 2. The location is Rome. 3 men are sitting in a private chamber in the Vatican. The windows are shuttered. The guards are dismissed. These are the 3 most powerful men in the world. First, there is Otto III, the Holy Roman Emperor. He is young, just 20 years old. He is obsessed with power. He is obsessed with legacy. Second is Pope Sylvester II, the genius, the mathematician, the man they call the magician because his knowledge is so vast it frightens the common people. And third is Constantine VII, the emperor of the Byzantine Empire in the East. They have a problem. They want to rule during the millennium, the year 1000. In the Christian world, the year 1000 is significant. It is the end of the first age. It is the time when Christ is predicted to return. It is a time of immense spiritual power. Otto wants to be the emperor of the millennium. He wants his name to be written in the book of history as the ruler who sat on the throne when the clock struck 1000. But he was born too early. According to the real timeline, he is ruling in the 700s. He is 300 years too soon. So they hatch a plan. A plan so audacious it defies belief. If they cannot wait for time to pass, they will simply change the time. They decide to add 297 years to the calendar. With a stroke of a quill, they skip the 7th century. They skip the 8th century. They skip the 9th century. They instruct their scribes to change the dates on all official documents. Suddenly, it is no longer 702. It is 999, but you cannot just change the date. You have to fill the gap. If you add 300 years to history, you have to put something in them. You cannot have 3 centuries of blank pages. So they invent a hero. They need a king who ruled during those empty years. A king who was greater than life. A king who conquered Europe. A king who was a devout Christian. They invent Charlemagne. Charles the Great. Think about it. Charlemagne is the perfect ruler. He's almost too perfect. He fought 53 campaigns and never lost. He converted the pagans. He reformed the currency. He reformed education. He is everywhere. Every city in Europe claims to be founded by him. Every monastery claims to have a charter signed by him. But where is the physical evidence? Archaeologists have looked for the palaces of Charlemagne. They have looked for the great buildings described in the texts. They find almost nothing. In Aachen, where his great palace supposedly stood, the stones tell a different story. The architecture is a mix of Roman and Gothic. There's a missing link, the Romanesque. Style of the earlier years connects perfectly to the styles that came after the gap. It is as if the architecture of the year 600 connects directly to the architecture of the year 900. There is no evolution, no middle step, because the middle step never happened. Let us walk through the ruins of this phantom time. Imagine you are an archaeologist digging in the soil of Europe you dig down through the layers of the 20th century, the 19th. The 18th dot, you find coins. You find pottery. You find the foundations of houses. You dig deeper into the 12th century. The 11th dot, and then you hit the phantom layer, the years 600 to 900. The soil is clean. There are no layers of habitation. There are no new farming techniques. There are no changes in the design of the graves. It is a dead zone. Historians call this the Dark Ages. They say it was a time of poverty and decline. They say that is why there is no evidence, but is that a reason? Or is it an excuse? Even in poverty, people build houses. Even in decline, people break pots. But here there is silence. Consider the forest. Dendrochronology is the science of tree rings. Every year a tree grows a new ring. A thick ring for a wet year. A thin ring for a dry year. We have an unbroken record of tree rings going back thousands of years, but in the record of the European oaks there is a problem. There is a gap in the timeline of the wood. The patterns of the Roman era do not line up with the patterns of the Middle Ages unless you remove 300 years. You cut out the phantom time, the wood matches perfectly. The trees know the truth. The trees do not lie for the emperor. But what about the stories? The legends? The Song of Roland? If Charlemagne did not exist, who are we reading about? Perhaps Charlemagne is an archetype, a composite character. Otto and Sylvester took the deeds of real kings, minor kings, who ruled small territories, and they stitched them together. They took a battle from here, a treaty from there, a coronation from somewhere else. They wove them into a tapestry of a golden age. It was the original fake news. They created a golden past to justify their golden present. Otto wanted to be the successor of Charlemagne. He opened Charlemagne's tomb in the year 1000. He claimed he found the great king sitting on a marble throne, perfectly preserved, holding a scepter. But maybe he found nothing. Maybe he found an empty room, and he simply told the world what they wanted to hear. People want to believe in heroes. They want to believe in a glorious past. It is easier to believe the lie than to accept that for 300 years nothing happened. Think of the psychological impact of this. If Charlemagne is a ghost, then the foundations of Europe are built on a dream. The Holy Roman Empire, which lasted for 1,000 years, was founded on a fiction. Does it matter? If a story is believed for 1,000 years, does it become true? If you dream a life, is it less real than the one you live when you are awake? Let us return to the calendar. Remember the glitch we spoke of before. The calendar of Pope Gregory. In 1582, Gregory cut 10 days from the calendar to realign it with the sun. But here is the mathematical smoking gun. The Julian calendar drifts by 1 day every 128 years. From the time of Julius Caesar, 45 BC, to the time of Pope Gregory, 1582, 1600. Years had passed. If you do the math, 1600 divided by 128 is 12.5. The calendar should have drifted by 13 days, but Pope Gregory only cut 10 days. Why? Why did the Pope's astronomers make a 3-day error? They were the best mathematicians in the world. They didn't make mistakes, unless they were calculating from the real timeline. If you subtract the phantom 300 years from history, then the math works perfectly. If the years 600 to 900 never happened, then the drift would only be 10 days. Pope Gregory knew when he reformed the Calendar, he implicitly admitted that the phantom time was real. He corrected the calendar for the real time, not the fake time. He kept the secret. He kept the lie of Otto and Sylvester alive. But he fixed the math. This is the hidden variable. This is the proof written in the stars and the seasons. The sun does not care about our political dates. The sun rises when it rises. And the sun says we are living in the 18th century. Let this sink in as you lie there. The year is not what you think it is. Does it make you feel dizzy? Or does it make you feel light? If we are living in the 1700s, then the Industrial Revolution has just begun. The world is younger than we thought. We are not as late in the day as we feared. There is a strange comfort in this. We often feel that the world is speeding up, that we are rushing towards some inevitable end. But if the phantom time hypothesis is true, then we have more time. We have been given a gift of 300 unspent years. The anxiety of the modern world is based on a false clock. Imagine the timeline of history not as a straight, rigid line, but as a piece of string. Otto and Sylvester tied a knot in the string. They looped it around and pulled it tight. They created a snag in the fabric of time. But tonight, we are untying the knot. We are smoothing out the string. The phantom. Years are dissolving. The imaginary battles are fading. The fake kings are returning to the ink from which they were born. The noise of history is quieting down. Let us go back to that monastery one last time. The scribes are tired. Their candles are burning low. They have written thousands of pages of fake history. They have invented lineages. They have invented saints. One monk puts down his quill. He rubs his eyes. He looks out the window at the night sky. He knows it is a lie. He knows that the year is 700, but he also knows that the lie is beautiful. He has created a story that will give people hope. A story of a great Christian king who united the world. He wonders if the future will ever know. He wonders if 1,000 years from now someone will look at his work and see the cracks. He looks at you. Across the centuries. He smiles. It is just a story, he whispers. History is just a story we agree to tell. He blows out the candle. The room goes dark. The phantom. Years vanish in the smoke. And now there is only the truth of the silence, the truth of the night. You have your own phantom time, don't you? The hours you spend worrying about things that never happened, the days you lost to anxiety, the years you spent chasing things that were not real. We all have empty centuries in our own lives, but tonight we can let them go. We can treat them like the phantom time of the Middle Ages. We can declare that they never happened. We can erase them from our personal calendar. You are not the sum of your lost time. You are the sum of your present moment. The past is a manuscript that can be rewritten, or it can be burned. Let us burn the fake pages. Imagine a fire in the hearth. A warm, gentle fire. You are holding the pages of your worries, the pages of your phantom stressors. You throw them into the fire. They curl up. They turn black. They turn to ash. They float up the chimney and out into the night. Air. Gone. The timeline is clean. The slate is wiped. You are starting fresh. Not in the future, but right now. In the true time. Now imagine time is a river, a wide, slow river flowing through a dark valley. You are on a small boat, a wooden boat. You are lying down in the bottom of the boat, looking up at the stars. The current is gentle. It carries you forward, but this river does not flow through the phantom years. It flows around them. It takes the shortcut. You are bypassing the noise. You are bypassing the confusion. The water laps against the wood. asterisk lap, lap, lap. There's a rhythmic sound. Like a heartbeat, the boat rocks gently. Left, right, left, right. You are drifting back to the source, back to a time before calendars, before clocks, before emperors, back to the time of the earth. The smell of the water is fresh. The air is cool. You feel a deep heaviness in your limbs, the heaviness of relaxation. Your legs are heavy. Sinking into the wood, your arms are heavy. Resting by your sides, your eyes are heavy. The stars above are blurring. The timeline is dissolving. There is no year 1000. There is no year 2000. There is only this breath. In doubt, the river carries you into the mist of sleep. It is white and soft and thick. It muffles every sound. You are floating in the white space. The space between the years. The true time. Safe. Quiet. Drifting. Deeper. And deeper. The king has buried the truth. But you have found the peace. Sleep now. In the silence of the ages. Good night. Look at the date on your phone. Look at the year. You believe it is the 21st century. You believe that 2,000 years have passed since the beginning of the Common Era. But what if I told you that is a lie? What if I told you that the year is actually 1728? It sounds like madness. It sounds like a conspiracy theory. But there is historical evidence that suggests an entire chunk of human history was faked. Specifically the years 614 to 911 AD, 300 years. The early Middle Ages, the time of Charlemagne. The historians call it the Dark Ages because there is so little information, but the truth is darker. It is dark because it never happened. Those years were inserted into the calendar by 3 men, a pope, an emperor, and a king. They fabricated battles that were never fought. They built cathedrals that were too advanced for their time. They wrote thousands of fake documents to fill the empty space. Why? To align their reign with the year 1000. To claim the power of the millennium. We are living in a phantom time. We are living in a timeline that was stretched like a rubber band until it snapped. This is the truth the king buried. Now let us turn back the pages of the years. Let the digital clock on your wall fade away. Let the numbers dissolve. Imagine you are walking through the heavy oak doors of an ancient monastery. The air is cool and smells of damp stone and burning beeswax. The light is dim. Only the flicker of candlelight illuminates the long rows of leather-bound books. You are safe here. You are watching from the shadows of the scriptorium. The monks are bent over their desks, scratching ink onto parchment, but look closely at what they are writing. They are not recording history. They are inventing it. Breathe deeply. Let the silence of the library wrap around you. We're going back to the moment the timeline was broken. Back to the conspiracy of the 3 crowns. The year is ostensibly 999, but in reality it is only 702. The location is Rome. 3 men are sitting in a private chamber in the Vatican. The windows are shuttered. The guards are dismissed. These are the 3 most powerful men in the world. First there is Otto III, the Holy Roman Emperor. He is young, just 20 years old. He is obsessed with power. He is obsessed with legacy. Second is Pope Sylvester II, the genius, the mathematician, the man they call the magician because his knowledge is so vast it frightens the common people. And third is Constantine VII, the emperor of the Byzantine Empire in the East. They have a problem. They want to rule during the millennium, the year 1000. In the Christian world, the year 1000 is significant. It is the end of the first age. It is the time when Christ is predicted to return. It is a time of immense spiritual power. Otto wants to be the emperor of the millennium. He wants his name to be written in the book of history as the ruler who sat on the throne when the clock struck 1000. But he was born too early. According to the real timeline, he is ruling in the 700s. He is 300 years too soon. So they hatch a plan. A plan so audacious it defies belief. If they cannot wait for time to pass, they will simply change the time. They decide to add 297 years to the calendar. With a stroke of a quill, they skip the 7th century. They skip the 8th century. They skip the 9th century. They instruct their scribes to change the dates on all official documents. Suddenly, it is no longer 702. It is 999, but you cannot just change the date. You have to fill the gap. If you add 300 years to history, you have to put something in them. You cannot have 3 centuries of blank pages. So they invent a hero. They need a king who ruled during those empty years. A king who was greater than life. A king who conquered Europe. A king who was a devout Christian. They invent Charlemagne, Charles the Great. Think about it. Charlemagne is the perfect ruler. He's almost too perfect. He fought 53 campaigns and never lost. He converted the pagans. He reformed the currency. He reformed education. He is everywhere. Every city in Europe claims to be founded by him. Every monastery claims to have a charter signed by him. But where is the physical evidence? Archaeologists have looked for the palaces of Charlemagne. They have looked for the great buildings described in the texts. They find almost nothing. In Aachen, where his great palace supposedly stood. The stones tell a different story. The architecture is a mix of Roman and Gothic. There is a missing link. The Romanesque style of the earlier years connects perfectly to the styles that came after the gap. It is as if the architecture of the year 600 connects directly to the architecture of the year 900. There is no evolution, no middle step, because the middle step never happened. Let us walk through the ruins of this phantom time. Imagine. You are an archaeologist digging in the soil of Europe. You dig down through the layers of the 20th century. The 19th, the 18th, you find coins, you find pottery, you find the foundations of houses, you dig deeper into the 12th century. The 11th. And then you hit the phantom layer, the years 600 to 900. The soil is clean. There are no layers of habitation. There are no new farming techniques. There are no changes in the design of the graves. It is a dead zone. Historians call this the Dark Ages. They say it was a time of poverty and decline. They say that is why there is no evidence. But is that a reason, or is it an excuse? Even in poverty, people build houses. Even in decline, people break pots. But here there is silence. Consider the forests. Dendrochronology is the science of tree rings. Every year a tree grows a new ring. A thick ring for a wet year. A thin ring for a dry year. We have an unbroken record of tree rings, going back thousands of years, but in the record of the European oaks, there is a problem. There is a gap in the timeline of the wood. The patterns of the Roman era do not line up with the patterns of the Middle Ages unless you remove 300 years. If you cut out the phantom time, the wood matches perfectly. The trees know the truth. The trees do not lie for the emperor. But what about the stories, the legends, the Song of Roland? If Charlemagne did not exist, who are we reading about? Perhaps Charlemagne is an archetype. A composite character. Otto and Sylvester took the deeds of real kings, minor kings, who ruled small territories, and they stitched them together. They took a battle from here, a treaty from there, a coronation from somewhere else. They wove them into a tapestry of a golden age. It was the original fake news. They created a golden past to justify their golden present. Otto wanted to be the successor of Charlemagne. He opened Charlemagne's tomb in the year 1000. He claimed he found the great king sitting on a marble throne, perfectly preserved, holding a scepter. But maybe he found nothing. Maybe he found an empty room, and he simply told the world what they wanted to hear. People want to believe in heroes. They want to believe in a glorious past. It is easier to believe the lie than to accept that. For 300 years, nothing happened. Think of the psychological impact of this. If Charlemagne is a ghost, then the foundations of Europe are built on a dream. The Holy Roman Empire, which lasted for 1,000 years, was founded on a fiction. Does it matter? If a story is believed for 1,000 years, does it become true? If you dream a life, is it less real than the one you live when you are awake? Let us return to the calendar. Asterisk, remember the glitch we spoke of before. The calendar of Pope Gregory in 1582. Gregory cut 10 days from the calendar to realign it with the sun. But here is the mathematical smoking gun. The Julian calendar drifts by 1 day every 128 years. From the time of Julius Caesar, 45 BC, to the time of Pope Gregory, 1582, 1,600 years had passed. If you do the math, 1,600 divided by 128 is 12.5. The calendar should have drifted by 13 days. But Pope Gregory only cut 10 days. Why? Why did the Pope's astronomers make a 3-day error? They were the best mathematicians in the world. They didn't make mistakes unless they were calculating from the real timeline. If you subtract the phantom 300 years from history, then the math works perfectly. If the years 600 to 900 never happened, then the drift would only be 10 days. Pope Gregory knew. When he reformed the calendar, he implicitly admitted that the phantom time was real. He corrected the calendar for the real time, not the fake time. He kept the secret. He kept the lie of Otto and Sylvester alive, but he fixed the math. This is the hidden variable. This is the proof written in the stars and the seasons. The sun does not care about our political dates. The sun rises when it rises. And the sun says we are living in the 18th century. Let this sink in as you lie there. The year is not what you think it is. Does it make you feel dizzy? Or does it make you feel light? If we are living in the 1700s, then the Industrial Revolution has just begun. The world is younger than we thought. We are not as late in the day as we feared. There is a strange comfort in this. We often feel that the world is speeding up, that we are rushing towards some inevitable end. But if the phantom time hypothesis is true, then we have more time. We have been given a gift of 300 unspent years. The anxiety of the modern world is based on a false clock. Imagine the timeline of history not as a straight, rigid line, but as a piece of string. Otto and Sylvester tied a knot in the string. They looped it around and pulled it tight. They created a snag in the fabric of time. But tonight we are untying the knot. We are smoothing out the string. The phantom. Years are dissolving. The imaginary battles are fading. The fake kings are returning to the ink from which they were born. The noise of history is quieting down. Let us go back to that monastery one last time. The scribes are tired. Their candles are burning low. They have written thousands of pages of fake history. They have invented lineages. They have invented saints. One monk puts down his quill. He rubs his eyes. He looks out the window at the night sky. He knows it is a lie. He knows that the year is 700, but he also knows that the lie is beautiful. He has created a story that will give people hope. A story of a great Christian king who united the world. He wonders if the future will ever know. He wonders if 1,000 years from now someone will look at his work and see the cracks. He looks at you. Across the centuries, he smiles. It is just a story, he whispers. History is just a story we agree to tell. He blows out the candle. The room goes dark. The phantom. Years vanish in the smoke. And now there is only the truth of the silence, the truth of the night. You have your own phantom time, don't you? The hours you spent worrying about things that never happened, the days you lost to anxiety, the years you spent chasing things that were not real. We all have empty centuries in our own lives, but tonight we can let them go. We can treat them like the phantom time of the Middle Ages. We can declare that they never happened. We can erase them from our personal calendar. You are not the sum of your lost time. You are the sum of your present moment. The past is a manuscript that can be rewritten, or it can be burned. Let us burn the fake pages. Imagine a fire in the hearth. A warm, gentle fire. You are holding the pages of your worries, the pages of your phantom stressors. You throw them into the fire. They curl up. They turn black. They turn to ash. They float up the chimney and out into the night. Air. Gone. The timeline is clean. The slate is wiped. You are starting fresh. Not in the future, but right now. In the true time. Now imagine time is a river, a wide, slow river flowing through a dark valley. You are on a small boat. A wooden boat. You are lying down in the bottom of the boat, looking up at the stars. The current is gentle. It carries you forward, but this river does not flow through the phantom years. It flows around them. It takes the shortcut. You are bypassing the noise. You are bypassing the confusion. The water laps against the wood. Lap, lap, lap. It is a rhythmic sound. Like a heartbeat. The boat rocks gently. Left, right, left, right. You are drifting back to the source, back to a time before calendars, before clocks, before emperors, back to the time of the earth. The smell of the water is fresh. The air is cool. You feel a deep heaviness in your limbs, the heaviness of relaxation. Your legs are heavy. Sinking into the wood, your arms are heavy. Resting by your sides, your eyes are heavy. The stars above are blurring. The timeline is dissolving. There is no year 1000. There is no year 2000. There is only this breath. In. And out. The river carries you into the mist of sleep. It is white and soft and thick. It muffles every sound. You are floating in the white space. The space between the years. The true time. Safe. Quiet. Drifting. Deeper. And deeper. The king has buried the truth, but you have found the peace. Sleep now. In the silence of the ages. Good night. They called them the soldiers of God. They called them the Black Robes. The Jesuit order was not just a group of priests. They were the first global intelligence agency. In the 16th century, they were sent to the farthest corners of the known world, to the jungles of the Yucatan, to the forbidden city of China, to the mountains of Peru. History tells you they went to spread the gospel. They went to save souls. That is the cover story. That is the lie that protects the sanctuary. The truth is found in the ashes of the fires they lit. They did not go to these lands to teach. They went to destroy. They were sent on a specific mission by the Vatican to find and burn every single record that contradicted the official timeline of the Church. They burned the Maya codices because the Maya calendars showed a history that was thousands of years older than the Bible allowed. They altered the astronomical records of the Chinese emperors because the eclipses proved the Western calendar was wrong. They were the enforcers of the new reality. They erased the past to protect the present. They committed the greatest intellectual crime in human history, not out of hate but out of fear. Fear that the world would find out that the timeline had been tampered with. This is the truth the king buried. Now let us turn back the pages of the years. Let the noise of the modern world fade into silence. Imagine you are standing in a vast stone courtyard at twilight. The air is thick with the scent of wood smoke and old paper. The sky is a deep bruised purple. You are safe here. You are a witness hiding in the shadows of the colonnade. In the center of the courtyard, a fire is burning. It is consuming piles of books, piles of scrolls, piles of wisdom. Watch the sparks rise up into the night sky. They look like fireflies returning to the stars. Breathe deeply. Let the heavy atmosphere of the 16th century wrap around you. We are going back to the era of the edit. Back to the men in black robes who shaped the memory of the world. Asterisk to understand the mission. You must understand the men. Ignatius of Loyola. The founder of the Jesuits. He was not a scholar at first. He was a soldier. A warrior. His leg was shattered by a cannonball in battle. While he lay in bed recovering, he had a vision. He realized that the true war was not fought with swords. It was fought with information. He built his order like an army. The Society of Jesus. They did not answer to bishops. They did not answer to kings. They answered only to the Pope. They were the special forces of the Vatican. They were trained in memory. They were trained in astronomy. They were trained in languages. And in 1582, when Pope Gregory changed the calendar, he realized he had a problem. He could change the clocks in Rome. He could change the dates in Paris. But what about the rest of the world? What about the civilizations that had been keeping time for thousands of years before Rome even existed? If a merchant traveled to China and found out that the Chinese year was different from the Christian year, the illusion would break. If a sailor went to Mexico and found a calendar that tracked the stars more accurately than the Gregorian system, the authority of the church would crumble. So the order was given: standardize the world, align the timelines, and if the records do not fit the timeline, destroy them. Let us travel first to the east, to the court of the Ming Dynasty. The year is 1601. A Jesuit priest named Matteo Ricci stands before the emperor. Ricci is a genius. He has learned to speak perfect Mandarin. He dresses like a Confucian scholar. He brings gifts: mechanical clocks, prisms, maps. He is charming. He is patient, but he is there on a mission. He gains access to the Royal Observatory. He looks at the records of the Chinese astronomers. The Chinese have been recording eclipses for 3,000 years. Their records are perfect. Ricci looks at the dates. And he sees the discrepancy. The Chinese records show eclipses that happened during the phantom time, the 300 years that Europe is trying to hide. The Chinese history is too long. It is too continuous. It proves that the Dark Ages were not dark in China. They were full of events. If these records get back to Europe, the Gregorian calendar will be exposed as a fraud. So Ricci begins his work. He offers to help the emperor modernize the calendar. He says the Western math is better. He begins to translate the Chinese records into Latin, but as he translates, he edits, he changes a year here. He deletes a dynasty there. He shifts the dates of the eclipses to match the Vatican's predictions. He creates a bridge between the two timelines. A false bridge. He sends letters back to Rome saying, the work is done. The dragon has been tamed. But not all the records could be changed. Some were carved in stone. Some were cast in bronze. So he simply declared them to be myths. He told the Chinese scholars that their ancient history was just legend, that it wasn't real science. He gaslighted an entire civilization. And today, when we look at Chinese history books in the West, we are looking at the version Matteo Ricci approved. Now let us cross the ocean to the humid jungles of the Yucatan. The year is 1560-2. The man is Bishop Diego de Landa, a Franciscan, not a Jesuit, but working towards the same goal. He arrives in the land of the Maya. He finds a civilization that is obsessed with time. The Maya have calendars that go back millions of years. They track the wobble of the earth. They track the cycles of Venus. Their books are made of bark paper, folded like accordions, painted with beautiful glyphs. Landa looks at these books. He asks the Maya priests to explain them. They show him the long count. They show him dates that predate the biblical flood. Dates that predate Adam and Eve. Landa is terrified. If these books are true, then the Bible is wrong. These books are true, then the church is built on a lie. He declares the books to be works of the devil. On July 12th, 1562, in the town of Mani, he orders a great auto da fe, a ritual of public penance, but the penance is not for the people. It is for the books. He piles them up in the square. Thousands of years of history, medical knowledge, astronomy, poetry. He lights the torch. The Maya people cry out. They watch their memories turn to smoke. Landa writes in his journal, "We found a large number of books in these characters, and as they contained nothing in which were not to be seen as superstition and lies of the devil, we burned them all, which they regretted to an amazing degree, and which caused them much affliction." He admits it. He burned them all. Today, only 4 Maya books survive. Only 4 out of thousands. Think of the silence that created. Think of the empty space where that knowledge used to be. That empty space was necessary for the new timeline to take root. You cannot plant a new garden until you clear the old forest. Landa and Ricci were the clearers of the forest, but there is a persistent rumor in the Lore Slumber Archives. A rumor that not every book was burned. The Jesuits were scholars. They hated destroying knowledge. They valued it above all else. It is said that before they threw the books onto the fire, they made copies, or perhaps they threw blank paper onto the fire to fool the crowds and smuggled the real books away. Where would they take them? To the one place that is safe, the Vatican Secret Archives. There are sections of the archives that are closed even to the Pope. The Archivio Segreto. It is believed that the original Chinese star charts are there. It is believed that the missing Maya codices are there, stacked on shelves of iron. Rooms that are climate controlled. Preserved. Why? Because knowledge is power. The church didn't want the world to know the truth, but they wanted to know the truth. They wanted to know the real timeline. They wanted to know the real movements of the stars. Because if you know the real time, you can predict the future. If you know the patterns of the past, you can see what is coming. The Jesuits became the gatekeepers of reality. They held the keys to the true history of the world while the rest of us were, given the edited version. We are living in the director's cut of history, and the Jesuits were the editors. Let us pause and feel the weight of the silence. It is heavy, like a wet wool blanket, but there is also a strange peace in it. When history is erased, the world becomes simpler. The Jesuits created a streamlined reality, a reality where everything fits, where the dates line up, where the Bible matches the stars. They did it to create order. And as you lie here, tonight you can appreciate the desire for order. Your mind is often like a cluttered archive, full of conflicting memories, full of worries about the past and the future. Imagine if you had a Jesuit librarian in your own mind, someone who could walk through the shelves of your anxiety and say, "This does not serve the narrative. Burn it. This worry about tomorrow is a superstition. Burn it. This regret about yesterday is an error. Burn it." Visualize the fire in the courtyard again, but this time it is not a tragic fire. It is a cleansing fire. It is burning away the noise. It is leaving only the silence. The silence is where you sleep. The burning of the books was not just about time. It was about space. The maps were altered too. The Jesuits traveled to places that were not supposed to exist. They went to the interior of Antarctica. Long before Shackleton. They went to the islands in the Pacific that sank. Beneath the waves, they saw the ruins of civilizations that were older than Rome, older than Egypt. They mapped them, and then they hid the maps. They called them terra incognita, unknown land, but they were not unknown to the order. They knew that if the world saw these ruins, the question would be asked, who built this? And the answer would not fit the timeline. So they shrouded the world in mystery. They made the world smaller to make it safer. But tonight, in your dreams, you can go to the unknown lands. The borders of the map are open to you. The Jesuits cannot police your dreams. You can fly over the ice walls. You can dive into the sunken cities. You can read the books that were burned, because nothing is ever truly lost. The smoke from the fire rises into the atmosphere. The particles of ash circle the globe. We are breathing the dust of the Maya codices. We are drinking the water that holds the memory of the Chinese star charts. The truth is in the air. Section 9. The silent librarian. Tone. Character-focused. Calming. A guide for the sleep journey. Imagine a figure standing in the corner of the room. He is wearing a long black robe. He has a kind face. He is the keeper of the secret. He is not here to burn your books. He is here to guard your rest. He holds a finger to his lips. He is telling the history of the world to be quiet. He is telling the wars to stop. He is telling the debates to cease. He closes the heavy leather book he is holding. The clasp clicks shut. That click is the sound of the day ending. The narrative is paused. The editing is done. The timeline is secure. You do not need to figure it out. You do not need to solve the conspiracy. The Jesuits have taken the burden of knowledge onto themselves. They carry the weight. So you can float. Now imagine the courtyard again. The fire has burned down. There is only a pile of white ash. Soft white ash. It begins to snow. Large, gentle flakes of snow falling from the purple sky. The snow falls on the ash. White on white, covering the scars, covering the burns. The air gets cooler, fresher. You are standing in the falling snow. It touches your face. Cool and soothing. You find a shelter. A small stone room with a thick wooden door. You go inside. It is warm here. There is a simple cot with wool blankets. You lie down. The sound of the world outside is muffled by the stone. And the snow dot, there is no sound, absolute silence. The silence of a library at night. Dot, your eyes are heavy, the secrets are safe. The books are closed. Dot, you are safe. Let the timeline dissolve. There is no year. There is no century. Dot, there is only the now. The eternal peaceful now. Your breath is slow. Dot, in, dot, and out, sinking deeper into the mattress, drifting into the secret history of your own dreams, where the truth is waiting. Ask yourself a question. Does it feel like time is speeding up? Does this year feel shorter than the last one? Do you remember the summers of your childhood lasting for an eternity, but now the months flash by like seconds? They tell you this is just part of aging. They tell you it is a trick of the mind. That is the lie. That is the sedative they feed you to keep you calm. The truth is that our biological clock is fighting a war against the artificial calendar. When the Vatican altered the timeline in 1582, they did not just change the dates on a piece of paper. They desynchronized the human mind from the rhythm of the earth. We are living in a timeline that is moving faster than our biology can handle. We are experiencing a collective chronological sickness, a glitch. Your brain feels the acceleration because deep down in your DNA, you know that the time we are keeping is fake. You are running on a treadmill that is set to a speed that does not exist in nature. The anxiety you feel, the brain fog, the feeling that you are constantly running out of time. It is not because you are busy. It is because your soul is rejecting the false timeline. We are not just losing days. We are losing the sensation of existence itself. This is the truth the king buried. Now let us turn back the pages of the years. Let the racing heart slow down. Let the frantic ticking of the modern clock fade into a soft rhythm. Imagine you are entering a room where time does not exist. A room of pure white stone. The light is soft and diffused like the light of a clouded moon. The air is cool and still. There are no windows here. No changing seasons. No calendars on the wall. You are safe here. You are stepping out of the stream of traffic and onto the riverbank. Breathe deeply. Let the tension in your chest release. We are going to explore the mechanism of your own mind. We are going to look at the gears of memory and understand why they are skipping. Let us begin with the feeling. Sunday evening. The sun is setting, and you feel a tightness in your chest. A sense of dread that the weekend is over before it even began. We call it the Sunday scaries. But in the 17th century, they called it melancholia temporis. Time sickness. Scientists have a name for why time speeds up. They call it proportional theory. They say that when you are 5 years old, 1 year is 20% of your life. It feels huge. It is a massive percentage of your experience. But when you are 50 years old, 1 year is only 2% of your life. It is a tiny fraction. So it feels fast. It is a logical explanation. It makes sense, but is it the whole truth? Or is it a cover story? Consider the calendar reform we spoke of in the previous stories. The deletion of 10 days. The possible deletion of 300 years. If history was edited, then our collective memory was edited. Imagine a film reel. If you cut out frames, the movie becomes jumpy. The characters move too fast. The motion looks unnatural. Humanity is watching a movie that has been cut. Our collective unconscious remembers a time when the days were longer, when the rhythm of life matched the rhythm of the stars. But now we are living in the jump cut. And your brain is trying to fill in the gaps. This is why you walk into a room and forget why you are there. This is why you feel like you have done this before. Deja vu. Is deja vu a glitch in the Matrix? Or is it your mind momentarily syncing up with the phantom time? Maybe for a split second you are remembering the timeline that was erased. To understand the truth, we must look at what happens when we take the clock away. In 1962, a French geologist named Michel Siffer decided to conduct an experiment. He descended into a glacier in the Alps, a cave of ice and darkness. He left his watch behind. He had no sun, no moon, no schedule. He planned to stay for 2 months. He lived by the rhythm of his body. He ate when he was hungry. He slept when he was tired. He called his team on the surface, only to signal when he woke up and when he went to sleep. Here is the terrifying part. When his team told him the experiment was over, Siffer argued with them. He thought it was August 20th, but it was actually September 14th. He had lost 25 days. His body had stretched time. His day was not 24 hours. It was 48 hours. Sometimes more. He was awake for 36 hours at a time and didn't know it. This proves something fundamental. The 24-hour day is a cage. The natural rhythm of the human soul is much slower. We are designed for long days. We are designed for a slower existence, but the Gregorian calendar forces us into a rapid-fire cycle. Tick-tock. Tick-tock. We are forcing a 48-hour creature to live in a 24-hour world. No wonder we are exhausted. No wonder we feel like time is slipping away. We are living at double speed. Siffer came out of the cave confused but calm. His mind had reset. He had touched the true time. The time of the earth? There is another symptom of the glitch, the Mandela effect. You know this phenomenon. Millions of people sharing a false memory. People remembering a specific logo looking one way. Remembering a movie line that was never spoken. Remembering a famous person dying years before they actually did. Psychologists say it is confabulation. The brain making mistakes? But why do millions of people make the exact same mistake? If it was random, everyone would have different false memories, but we share them. This suggests that the memory is not false. The timeline is false. What if those memories are residuals? What if in the timeline before the edit the logo was different? What if the person did die? When the Jesuits and the kings adjusted the calendar, when they burned the books, perhaps they created ripples, shock waves in the fabric of causality. Some of us are sensitive to these ripples. We remember the world as it was supposed to be. The glitch in human memory is not a failure of your brain. It is a feature. It is your mind holding on to the original file, the backup copy. The authorities can change the books. They can change the internet. They can edit the photos, but they cannot edit the neural pathways of the human. Race. Not yet. And now we have added a new layer to the cage, the digital clock, the atomic clock. We carry it in our pockets. It glows on our wrist. It slices time into microsecond. In the medieval era, the smallest unit of time was the moment. It was about 90 seconds. Imagine that. A world where the smallest amount of time you worried about was a minute and a half. Now we worry about nanoseconds. This digital precision acts like a centrifuge. It spins us faster and faster. It separates us from the present moment. You are never truly here. You are always anticipating the next notification, the next alarm. This is the ultimate victory of the artificial timeline. It has turned the human being into a prediction machine. We are constantly living 5 minutes in the future. And because we are living in the future, the present disappears. That is why the years fly by, because you were not there for them. You were scrolling. You were planning. You were waiting. You were absent from your own life, but there is a rebellion happening. It is happening. Inside you right now, listen to your heartbeat. Thump, 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 thump. That rhythm does not follow the Gregorian calendar. It does not follow the atomic clock. It follows the rhythm of your blood, the rhythm of your ancestors. Your heart beats the same way, a heartbeat 10,000 years ago. Your lungs breathe the same air. The biology is the anchor. The glitch feels uncomfortable because it is the friction between your ancient body and the modern world. It is a sign that you are still human. If you didn't feel the glitch, it would mean you had become a machine. So welcome the feeling. Welcome the resistance. It is your soul saying, slow down. It is your soul saying, this speed is a lie. Tonight we are going to listen to the rebellion. We are going to side with the biology. We are going to stop the treadmill. Let us travel back to a time before the glitch. Imagine a farmer in the year 1000 BC. He does not know what year it is. He does not know what hour it is. He knows the sun is warm on his back. He knows the wheat is ready to harvest. He knows the birds are singing. His perception of time is circular. The seasons come and go. The moon waxes and wanes. There is no progress. There is no deadline. There's only the cycle. In this world, time does not run out. It returns. Winter is not an end. It is a rest. Death is not an end. It is a return to the earth. This circular time is restful. It is infinite. When you think of time as a line that is running out, you feel panic. But when you think of time as a circle, you feel peace. You cannot fall off a circle. You cannot be late for a circle. You are just riding the wheel. Tonight we are stepping off the line. And onto the wheel, the king buried the truth because he wanted productive subjects. He wanted people who would rush, who would work, who would build his monuments. But you do not need to build anything tonight. You do not need to be productive. You need to heal the glitch. How do you heal it? By forgetting the date. By forgetting the year. By closing your eyes and realizing that inside the darkness of your mind, it could be any time. It could be ancient Egypt. It could be the distant future. It could be the dawn of creation. The darkness is timeless. In the dark, your memory heals. It stitches the gaps back together. The Sunday scaries dissolve because there is no Sunday here. There is no Monday. There is just the pulse, the universal pulse. Now visualize the mechanism of the world. See it as a giant clock tower. The gears are spinning fast, whirring, buzzing. The pendulum is swinging wildly, but you have the key. You are standing in the center of the tower. You reach out and touch the pendulum. You apply a gentle pressure, slowing it down. Slowing. The sound changes. It goes from a high-pitched whine to a low, deep hum. Hum. The gears are turning like honey now. Thick and slow. The second hand on the clock face freezes. Then moves. 1. Long pause. 2. Long pause. You are stretching the seconds. You are reclaiming the lost time. You are pulling the 25 days back from the cave. You are expanding the moment. The room is getting quieter. The rush is gone. Your breath matches the slow gears. In. And hold. And out. And hold. The glitch is repaired. The connection is restored. You are drifting in the deep river of true time. It is slow. It is heavy. It is warm. You are not running out of time. You are floating in it. Time is a cradle, rocking you gently back and forth. The past is gone. The future is waiting, but you are here. Asterisk, we always knew the debt would have to be paid. In 1582, Pope Gregory stole 10 days from the calendar to save the world from a prophecy. He thought he had cheated fate. He thought he had erased the date of the apocalypse. But time is not a bank account you can overdraw forever. For 500 years, the mirror of future silence in the Vatican Archives has been dark. It has been quiet. But 3 nights ago, the silence was broken. The lead walls of the chamber began to vibrate. The temperature dropped to freezing, and the black obsidian glass began to glow. The keepers of the chronos rushed to the vault. They looked into the surface of the mirror, hoping to see nothing, hoping to see the void. But they saw numbers. They saw a date burning in the glass. The 10 days we skipped were not deleted. They were merely postponed. And now the interest on that time has compounded. The phantom timeline is crashing back into our reality. The artifact is showing the end date again. The glitch is fixing itself. The borrowed time is over. We are standing on the edge of the reset. This is the truth the king buried. Now let us turn back the pages of the years. Let the fear of the future dissolve into the mist. Imagine you are walking down the longest corridor in the world. It is underground. Deep beneath the stone foundations of Rome, the air is old. It tastes of iron and dust. The only light comes from the torches on the walls, which flicker in a wind that comes from nowhere. You are safe here. You are walking towards the final door. The door that has been sealed for centuries. Breathe deeply. Let the weight of the world above you fade away. We are going to witness the final chapter of the secret. We are going to look into the mirror one last time. The room is small. It is lined with lead and copper. It was built to contain energy. In the center of the room sits the artifact. The obsidian mirror. For centuries it has been a dead object. A cold black stone. Generations of priests have sat in this room and seen nothing. They have written no change in the ledger every single day for 400 years. But tonight the pen shakes in the hand of the guardian. He is an old man. He has spent his life waiting for this moment and fearing it. He hears a sound. It starts as a low sub-bass, a sound that you feel in your chest more than you hear with your ears. It is the sound of the earth. Grinding its gears, he looks at the mirror. The black surface is rippling. Like oil on water. Smoke begins to rise from the glass. Not physical smoke, but a shadow that detaches itself from the object and floats in the air. The guardian knows what this means. The buffer is full. When Pope Gregory removed the 10 days, he created a buffer. A pocket of time where the excess energy of the universe could be stored. He thought it was infinite. He was wrong. The buffer is a vessel. And the vessel is overflowing. The guardian looks at the calendar on the wall. The artificial Gregorian calendar. It looks so flimsy now. Just paper and ink. He realizes that the entire modern world is built on that paper. Our schedules, our computers, our flight paths, our history. It is all a construct built on top of a lie. And the lie is breaking. Do you remember the phantom variable? The math that didn't add up? For centuries, scientists have ignored the remainder in the equation. They have rounded it down, but in the mirror, the remainder is visible. The guardian sees swirls of light. They are fractal patterns. Chaos theory in motion. He realizes that the glitch in human memory was just the warning sign. The tremors before the earthquake. The feeling that time is speeding up. That was the vessel filling up. As the buffer got fuller, the pressure increased. The timeline became compressed. That is why the years feel short. We are running out of storage space. The guardian watches as the shapes in the mirror begin to resolve. They are forming a date. He holds his breath. What date will it be? Will it be tomorrow? Will it be 1,000 years from now? The numbers form slowly, red lines searing into the black glass. He recognizes the script. It is not modern numbers. It is Latin numerals. It is the language of the church. The mirror is speaking back to its creators. It is telling them that the contract is expired. Let us pause. The words end date sound terrifying. The human mind is programmed to fear the end. We fear death. We fear the end of the story, but what if the end is not a destruction? What if it is a correction? Think of a clock that is running fast. It ticks too quickly. It gets ahead of the real-time. To fix it, you have to stop it. You have to hold the hand still while the real-time catches up. The end date shown in the mirror might be the moment the clock stops. The great pause. Imagine a world where time simply stops, not a frozen wasteland, but a moment of absolute rest, a moment where the constant forward momentum of history ceases. No more progress, no more decline, no more news, no more anxiety, just a long eternal now. The guardian looks at the mirror and he does not feel fear. He feels relief. He is tired of guarding the lie. He is tired of holding back the ocean with a spoon. He wants the dam to break. He wants the truth to wash over the world. He realizes that the king buried the truth not to save the people, but to save his own power. Kings need time. They need schedules to collect taxes. They need calendars to levy armies. If time stops, the king has no power. If time stops, we are all free. You feel it too, don't you? The approach of the reflection. It is that feeling you get late at night when the house is quiet. The feeling that you are waiting for something. You don't know what it is. You check your phone. You check the locks, but you are not waiting for a person. You are waiting for the shift. Your soul knows that the timeline is stretching thin. It is like a rubber band pulled to its limit. It vibrates. It sings. That vibration is keeping you awake. But tonight we are going to harmonize with it. We are not going to fight the tension. We are going to accept it. The mirror in the Vatican is showing the date. But you have a mirror inside you. Close your eyes and look at it. It is dark. It is smooth. Does it show an end? Or does it show a beginning? The ancient alchemists believed that the end of the world was just the beginning of the golden age. A return to the garden? A return to the time before time. Maybe the artifact is not a weapon. Maybe it is a key to unlock the cage of the calendar. The guardian stands before the glowing glass. He has a choice. There is a protocol for this moment. A failed safe. In the corner of the room there is a heavy iron lever. It is connected to the foundations of the tower. If he pulls the lever, it will collapse the ceiling. It will bury the room in tons of rock and concrete. It will destroy the mirror. It will break the connection. This is what his predecessors would have done. They would have chosen to destroy the message, to keep the secret. To buy a few more years of the lie. The guardian walks over to the lever. His hand is cold. The iron is cold. He looks back at the mirror. The red light is pulsing. Thump, thump, thump. It matches his heart. He thinks of the world above. The people rushing. The people worrying. The people lost in the glitch. He thinks of the sleep they are missing. If he destroys the mirror, the glitch continues. The acceleration gets worse. The anxiety gets worse. We will run faster and faster until we burn out. But if he leaves it. If he lets the cycle complete. He takes his hand off the lever. He Steps back. He decides to let it happen. He sits down on the stone floor. He crosses his legs. He closes his eyes. He decides to wait for the reflection to become reality. He chooses the truth, and as he sits there, a strange thing happens. The numbers in the mirror stop burning. The red light softens. It turns into a gentle blue. The vibration stops. The room becomes silent. The guardian realizes the truth. The end date was not a day on the calendar. It was a state of mind. The mirror was waiting for someone to stop fighting. It was waiting for someone to accept the flow. As soon as he let go of the control, the pressure stabilized, the timeline healed. The 10 days were not returned. They were forgiven. The debt was canceled, because time is not money. Time is a gift, and you cannot owe a debt on a gift. The mirror goes dark again. But this time it is not a dead darkness. It is a restful darkness. It is the darkness of a sleeping eye. What does this mean for you tonight? It means you can stop counting. The artifact has reset. The pressure is gone. You do not need to worry about the time running out. The king's secret is out. The lie is over. You are living in the true time now. And in the true time, there is no rush. Think about the concept of the final reflection. When you look in a mirror, you see your face. But when you look into the dark, you see your soul. Tonight is your final reflection of the day. You are looking into the dark behind your eyelids. What do you see? You see the day dissolving, all the emails, all the conversations, all the noise. It is melting away. It doesn't matter anymore. It belongs to the phantom time. You are here, in the safe room, in the lead-line chamber of your own rest. Nothing can reach you. Here, the radiation of the world is blocked. The frequency of the stress is blocked. You are safe. Now we are going to count down. Not to the end of the world, but to the end of the wakefulness. We are going to walk down the steps into the vault. 10 steps. 1. The air is cool. The light is dim. 2. You are leaving the surface. You are leaving the noise. 3. Deeper into the earth. Deeper into the calm. 4. Your legs are heavy. Your arms are heavy. 5. Halfway there. The mirror is waiting. It is dark and peaceful. 6. The silence is ringing in your ears. A soft, pleasant ring. 7. You are letting go of the calendar. You are letting go of the name of the day. 8. It doesn't matter what year it is. It only matters that you are tired. 9. Almost there. The bed is soft. The pillow is cool. 10. You are in the chamber. You lie down. The darkness wraps around. You like a velvet cloak. The final reflection is sleep. The mirror absorbs your thoughts. It takes them away. It leaves you empty, and light, floating in the void. The debt is paid. The time is yours. To rest. To dream. To be. The king is sleeping. The guardian is sleeping. And you are sleeping. Deep. Sleep. Good night.